seeing the other game and not the one we're commenting, in which case,
Okay.
yeah, it's very confusing. But nevertheless, we'll continue to provide our amazing insights on this matchup. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get the feature match that we're viewing over to you guys.
Yeah. They're both great games.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. And our insights on Amber Steel versus Sapphire Steel.
Yeah, same matchup on both feature matches for this round. So it looks like Bobby did not. They did have a popsicle, but did not have the turn 1 bell. And that's a big deal. All right. Yeah, so Bobby not having the turn 1 bell. Yeah, the turn 1 popsicle, and then had a Saley as we see on turn 2. So wasn't able to find the bell, and we see here, Luke has got a good start of their own. Had the turn 1 Cinderella. Looks like that got taken down. But turn 2 Vanessa, turn 3 Spectacular Singer Aerial. Great curve out for Luke, and Bobby's got nothing in play at this point. Looks like probably go for a Flavor Sham. Yeah, I mean, you're going to get to draw a bunch of cards, but if Luke ends up hitting like a whole new world here soon, those extra cards aren't really going to end up mattering, and Luke can just keep going wide and start questing.
That's true, and we see we do have it in hand. So already with a 5-cost Singer, a couple ink on the board, and then Vanessa able to sing, so that's kind of setting up perfectly, especially if Bobby's managed to develop a hand advantage and dump all those extra cards, as you pointed out. So, yeah, I mean, this is kind of the start that you want, especially without that bell hitting the board on Bobby's side. He has songs there as well.
Yeah, Luke may have a couple options. Maybe able to just put some more characters in play, or may have just 2 songs to combo together to take out the Flavor Sham.
Yeah, it doesn't feel good leaving the Flavisham up if you're going to play a whole new world and allowing Bobby to draw into another popsicle or something else to draw a couple extra cards.
We see a Zeus and a whole new world in Luke's hand, but maybe not another damage song.
Yeah, I think that's the decision here, trying to figure out if we want to build a little bit more of an advantage.
Oh no, there are 2 damage songs. It's Strength and Zeus. Yeah, we may just fire it off and then sing Whole New World. Okay, well.
There we go. Get rid of that Flavisham.
Have it all.
Right. And we've established that extra singer there, that extra character too, just icing on the cake.
Yeah, that was an incredible turn for Luke. Now he's got 3 characters in play. Both players have 7 cards in hand, but Bobby has nothing in play.
Nothing on the board. Let's see. Again, we pointed out there's plenty of combos that can get Bobby back in the game pretty quickly, but the empty board, staring at that Azure at D, we're going to build some more ink here, make use of those extra cards in hand.
Yeah, I mean, Luke has gone wide, right? But this is all like the all senior draw. Like none of these have high lore value. There's no like Lawrence or Days or anything that's going to just start getting the lore race really started. But right. Bobby's got to like pick his spot here, because I mean, even like a Tamatoa is just going to get one shot by one of these singers, and then you just keep getting behind.
Yeah, and the Steel Sun deck, I'm eyeballing the hand there. There's at least 1 SME in there. I'm sure we're not running. You don't usually see the Cinderella shift line much anymore, but there are dangers where Luke could very quickly establish a lot of lore on the board. Yeah, so to your point, definitely have to establish a board presence here soon. But in the meantime, building up a good solid well of ink opens up a lot of those endgame combos.
Yeah, I'm trying to think and put together a strategy for Bobby's side. I don't really know what that looks like. I mean, Bell helps because it's kind of a low investment. You don't really care if it gets taken out, but if it doesn't, it's a really good challenger into the board. You're not losing too much if it eats like a removal song, then that's one thing that didn't hit one of your in-game things. But I'm not sure what it looks like for Bobby to be able to come back from this. It's he's definitely got plenty of time, but there's, like you said, there's no grab your swords from either deck. But I mean, there's not really a good answer for the go wide strategy on Luke's side, and we saw Bobby actually ink one of the Strength of the Raging Fires, which isn't great in the situation anyway. But yeah, I mean that's a Zeus that's not going to eat a Tamatoa, but
And that's what's important too. One of the things that Bell was doing was establishing a 3-cost singer, which you drop another character on the board. That's 3 damage you could use to remove things. 4 damage if you drop another cheap character. And so you have options for removal, but losing everything, this is just really tough. And there's no go wide or wide removal.
No, yeah, and now Luke's starting to find some of the heavier clusters. You can see the SME there. That'll start to add up. I mean, it's got 2, 3, 4, 5 lore value in play. So Bobby commits something, got plenty of singers. If he doesn't, you just go sideways.
Oh, and here it looks like we're hard playing Zeus, Smee, get rid of that high lore character, but a lot of resources to devote to.
Oh, fire the cannons! All right.
Fun card from set 1. It appears in the meta every now and then as a little anti-aggro, but doing the perfect amount of damage there to that Cinderella. So there we have some board clearance. Only 3 lore left there. So
yeah, Luke's only at 3, so I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe Bobby can grind it out, and I mean, if the big removal songs like Zeus have been eaten up by the bells and stuff, I mean, you get to an 8-cost Tamatoa, it might be difficult to get rid of.
To see 2 Smees come down here if I was getting guess. There's one.
Brutal.
The second one. Oh, yep. Yep, there it is. It's another 4 lore on the board, and that's.
Luke's still got 4 cards in hand, so like, down to 3 now, but I mean, yeah.
That's why you get more background noise. That's what game does for you.
7 go to 13 next turn. You Mike can just ignore this Tamatoa and go to 13 this turn.
Are we doing 3 today?
See, we're gonna get the popsicle for next. Draw that Tamatoa, great for lore, great for finding items, but here it's probably going to be used as some anti-pirate.
As another aerial spectacular singer. Luke's also got a Pete this turn, so if you want to prevent any other removal songs out of Bobby next turn, and just, I mean, I imagine most of these cards are just going to quest, and Tamatoa can take 1 out, but it's probably going to be, oh my goodness,
Yep,
that's the world's greatest criminal, and that takes care of the
that takes care of
Tamatoa.
him pretty easily.
That is brutal. Oh man, I don't know if there's a better card you could have found off of that singer.
That's what you want. Now, golly, this is rough. And icing, just one more note for the audience earlier. I mentioned the Cinderella in play, probably not running the Cinderella shift line. He is running the Cinderella shift line. I did see it in the Discord file there.
Very nice.
This is a fun deck, and yeah, just really no answers for the go wide here. That is the way around this dominant item build that we've seen.
Yeah, World's Greatest Criminal. That's a card I was like, maybe we'll start seeing it again. The new Tamatoa is only a 4/5, so it just gets under this. Or else this card would just be an all-star in the format right up and 8 all the Tamatoas. But hitting the 8-cost one is enough. You have Zeus and stuff to take care of the new one.
Oh man, one thing I correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think I've seen any Arcasia's Island songs in this Steel Song build here.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think. It's Steel Song's an oldie but a goodie. It popped up in set 1, and it evolves a little bit over time. But this is very similar to a build we saw from last tournament. There's the handshake. It's just too much for Bobby to deal with.
Yeah, I think a weakness people are figuring out against this blue steel deck. I mean, it's explosive. It can still just beat anything with just the power level, but things with 4 or more willpower, especially early, are difficult for them to deal with. And that might be something they may have to start figuring out as we move forward in this new format. But yeah, I mean, that was a good showing. Bobby still took a game, but yeah, I mean, Amber still looked pretty good there.
Yeah, and I'll have to think back. We were dealing with some of the technical issues in the early game, but Bobby did not establish the early bell, I don't think.
Nope, not that game. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that anti-aggro answer is really what you're going to find. Also didn't see any Oswalds from Bobby, which is one of the things that allowed this deck to succeed in previous tournaments, is those big plays where you find a dime or are able to cheat a bunch of items in for free. So yeah, probably not the ideal draw for Bobby that game, and the Steel Song list just hit everything it wanted to on curve, including that whole new world at the right time. So yeah, great games from both players. And yeah, I'm not seeing the chat. I don't know if people are seeing what we're seeing now or if we're watching the other game. But while we wait to figure that out, before we go to break, just for everybody watching, if you're not familiar with what this event is and the Hunter Burton Memorial Tournament, this is an event that is very popular in the Magic world. It's a charity event that's been run for the past several years, and this is the second year of Lorcana running at this event. Hal, you're probably able to talk a lot more eloquently about Hunter and the importance of this tournament in the gaming community than I can.
Yeah, I mean this is the 11th year for the event overall, and yeah, I mean it started out as a Magic tournament, just it's gaming to prevent suicide. It's to raise awareness, and it's a big charity event. It's a good time. I did know I personally knew Hunter back in the day. We tested together a bit for I remember exactly one we was play testing for a pro tour that he top baited. I was testing with him the day before at the location. I think it was actually in Austin, Texas, the one he top baited. And yeah, I mean, he's a good guy. This is a great cause, remembering him, and yeah, just raise awareness. And there's all kinds of card games being played here. There's even board games, but yeah, there's Lorcana. Magic is the big main event, but there's I saw people playing Star Wars, Flesh and Blood, Pokemon, and yeah, I mean, if you're in the area this weekend, just come by and hang out. Say hi and learn a new game if you want. It's just a good time overall. It's my favorite gaming weekend of the year.
Yeah, and not only that, it's an amazing event. It's also a fundraiser. This event raises awareness for 988 and raises money for charities that are dedicated towards suicide prevention and awareness. So, if you're watching and you're so inclined, you can go to Hunter Burton's website, and there's links there and ways for you to donate to this cause and support what they're doing here. It's just a fantastic event and a lot of fun. I see a lot of the same faces here this year that I did last year, so it feels kind of like a reunion. But it's also a wonderful cause, and yeah. So if you weren't aware, now you are.
Well, we're gonna take a quick break, and then we will be back with round two. Oh, okay, cool.
Are we muted?
Hunter Burton Memorial Open players from table 108. Please report your match. That's Seth Casey and Clinton Willison. Please report your match. Just a reminder for all players in the room, once your match has concluded, please report either via the Spice Track app or by reporting to the storekeeper at the event stage. HBMO competitors at table 32 and 33, please report your match. That's Anthony Weiss, Lawson Sandy, Matt Sangs, and Carl Schultz. Please, once again, report your match.
Oh, are they both in the same?
They're using. Oh, that's not their. Let me get it. Let me get it.
Yeah.
That's what, they're using the wrong stream code. Man, they're controlling our overlay.
All right, welcome back. We'll get the overlay update in a second. This is round 2 of our Lorcana Championship here at the Hunterbird Memorial Open, brought to you by 20 Lure Pro. So we've got Lorcana Kid on the left playing a green steel deck versus Kayla S on the Blurple deck. Love a good Blurple deck.
I love a good Blurple deck. People have wanted this deck to be good for so many sets. It finally broke into the mainstream, I think, last set. Never considered, I think, tier 1, but just below it. But it's actually shows some promise this meta. I'm kind of excited to see it.
Now, this is probably a different version of Blurple, because that's a Wendy and an Allison play. This seems like a very aggressive Blurple deck, just trying to quickly lure. And you see, if the lure totals are correct, Kayla's already at 9 to Lorcana Kid's 2. And that's a lot of ward, which could be an issue for the Emerald Steel deck.
That is true, but again, we're coming in this fresh, taking a look here. Looks like, Green Steel, one of those decks known for forcing their opponent into top deck mode. We do see Eluciver down there, as well as Ursula, so Kayla looks to have no cards in hand, probably in full top deck mode right now, so managed to push the lure total, but if Lorcana Kid can get control of the board here, perhaps able to come back.
Yeah, it looks like if Kayla's at 14, you've got 2 more lore value in play you could quest for. It's gonna, anything that turns sideways at this point is just gonna immediately be taken out by one of Lorcana Kid's mini characters. It looks like go ahead and go up 2 more, and it's gonna be close. I mean, I don't know if Kayla's like an aggressive version, maybe has something like Goat and bounce effects, like could be getting close, but
I mean, if this is a hardcore aggro deck too, you could have cards like Seeking Knowledge and Wisdom.
Yeah.
And other, burn cards, they call them, to push you over the top. So getting to 16 lore in a deck that could run Goats, Seeking Knowledge, Wisdom, things like that, kind of dangerous. So yeah, Lorcana Kid probably want to close this out as soon as possible.
A card I've tried to make a Blurple, like, quote unquote burn deck, and a card I really want to play is Glean.
Yeah, but just as we say that, need to push this, Lorcana Kid pushing to 12, showing game on the board, I think. And that'll be it.
Yeah, just
So.
it's looked like it was a close one.
Yeah.
Kayla's at
For a second
16.
there, but-
Could have went to 17 with that Grandma Tala, but yeah, Lorcana Kid is gonna pull that one out. We'll shuffle up. We'll see Those for game 2. The aggressive deck will get to be on the play this game. See how that works out.
Yeah, so this is interesting. I love to talk about in depth about this matchup here. We don't really know exactly what we're looking at over on the Blurple side, but all indications are, especially with cards like Wesselton,
Yeah.
Weaselton rather, Wesselton, Disney joke there. This is definitely, I think, a hardcore aggro deck. I would be surprised if there wasn't Seeking Knowledge and Wisdom and some other cards to push you over the top when your opponent establishes board control. So, key to Kayla's game is clearly to be aggressive early and try to get as much lore as fast as possible. The thing with Green Steel, though, is this is a very mid-rangey deck, and it's capable of being aggressive as well, especially with the Diablo shift line establishing that card on turn 2. So, I don't know. It is going to be interesting because Green Steel wants to these Green Steel, as far as discard goes, aren't as aggressive as some of the earlier Green Steel discard decks we saw in sets like 3 and 4. It does start to establish its discard in the mid game, with the exception of Ursula, which you see on turn 2. So if Kayla is able to dump her hand very fast, I do see Seeking Knowledge and Wisdom there, by the way. If Kayla's able to dump her hand very fast on the board so that the discard isn't impacting her as much, that could be big. And I think on the Lorcana Kid side, I mean, establishing the Diablo early is probably nice because I doubt there's very much, if any, removal in Kayla's deck. I can't think of anything, really.
Yeah, unless you're playing something like Fox or something just to like challenge, or, something like that. Not going to be something it's going to interact with like a Diablo, an evasive character. But I want to know if Kayla's playing my favorite Amethyst aggressive card, Amethyst Chromacon.
Maybe.
Just keep the gas coming. We're trying to fuel out some lore before our opponent can establish a board state.
It's so funny. That was a card during reveal season for that particular set that a lot of people thought was very good. Like they looked at that could be good in certain builds. And it appeared here and there. But in a deck like this, I think you're right. It's a way to keep the gas on. Play 2 cards a turn and force your opponent to respond.
Yeah, it's a pretty funny card against discard too. Now it's unfortunate if your opponent has Exerted Diablo, because then they're going to get to draw 2 cards to your 1. But yeah, I mean,
Deck 'em.
Yeah, Plan B activated. So Kayla's starting us off with a 1-drop Amethyst Diablo. And this is a Diablo mirror match.
Diablo mirror. They're staring each other down there. Of course, one of those Diablos able to shift, a little bit more dangerous than the other one. And here we have that Weaselton again on turn 2, a 2 lore quester showing that aggressive line that Kayla's looking to take in the turn 2.
Yeah, I mean, from what we got to see at the end of the last game, Kayla had a couple characters that quest for 2. Their stats aren't great, but they did have ward. Like the Alice has ward, and I think the Wendy has ward as well. But the Wendy only has one willpower, so it's easy to challenge into. But if you don't have any other characters, you can't just like use a removal action on it or anything.
True. Now on the other side, we have a Morph Blade here. Morph is a fun card that has been in and out of meta decks. One of the reasons I think it's a little more popular now, as we see the Diablo shift and remove the other Diablo, there have always been some good Floodborn characters to leverage Morph's ability, which allows any Floodborn character to shift on top of it. But we gained another one in this set in Green Steel with Space Pirate Pete, I think that's his name.
Yeah.
A fun card in these colors, and it just added one more tool to the toolbox that you have to use with Morph. So a card that has become, I think, a staple in the current iteration of Green Steel decks in this set.
I actually know a couple of people this weekend that are bringing Green Steel to the tournament, and they were checking in a couple Find'em Platinums for the Blue Steel matchup.
So we're going to play location here. I think it's Hidden Cove. We're going to slide both of our characters over there, giving them some extra willpower.
Yeah, and that's just going to make Lorcana Kids challenges even easier. It's not even so much as protecting your own characters, it's just letting them increase their willpower to attack more of Kayla's board. But there's a McDuck Manor. Unfortunately, Lorcana Kids location helps take that out a little bit faster too. But it's going to stick around for at least a turn or 2.
That's true. Likely to get at least 4 willpower out of it. Maybe 4.
Yeah.
But every character that's there challenging that McDuck Manor is not challenging your Wendy, who have 2 Seeking Knowledge and Wisdom there. So now the lore target is 16. So every little bit of lore helps get Kayla closer to victory. What's that 16 mark? I guess that's true in any match, but Yeah, so definitely good to have that knowledge, though. Most steel decks nowadays, or pretty much every steel deck, I think, runs Pete's games referee, which can shut down your opponent's action. So now, on that side, the green steel player knows that probably a card you want to hang on to in case you get close to that 16 lore target. Here we go, now representing 6 lore on the board. We're going to have to vote something, probably finish off that McDuck Manor. That'll leave 4 lore on the board to get Kayla up to 13. But establishing a bit of the engine here that you hate to see. There goes 2 cards, and Prince John means that the player there will draw 2 cards. Swing.
Yeah, taking out the McDuck Manor, Prince John and Lucifer both quest for 2. And you don't really have to worry about Kayla challenging back into those. I mean, if she decides to, all right. I mean,
Yeah.
that's like 2 to 4 lore less than she's gonna get. But yeah, it's pretty brutal.
The uphill battle here. Yeah, on our full disclosure, on our side, we're trying to figure out what this card is. It's not a card we see played very often here. On the other side, it's the fun thing about some of these off-meta decks. You see builds and cards that you don't normally see. Chat's letting us know.
Okay.
It's a lot to come back from here. Once these discard engines get going with your Prince Johns on the board.
Yeah, and I mean, you got the Sad Beast in play. You've got the Diablo in play. Like, you're drawing at least 3 cards a turn here. Well, I guess the Beast isn't drawing extra cards because it's got decent counter on it, but the Diablo is it. Beast can just eat that McDuck Manor, though.
Yeah, 16 here again. If you had those 2 Gathering Knowledge and Wisdom in hand, like that would be game.
Yeah.
So definitely not something that the green steel player ran away with here, but able to enter that McDuck Manor in short order, and yeah, definitely weighs back in for Kayla if green steel player allows her to hang on too long, but no removal, and this is just a tough spot right now.
Yeah, I think Kayla's going to be 1 turn too short to have a chance to sneak in the last 4 lore. Yeah, because I think the Emerald Steel player is just going to be able to close it out in a turn. It won't be this turn, so like Kayla get 1 more turn. I mean, I don't know if can't close it out now. When you quest for 2, could get another Gathering Knowledge.
No, that's it.
That was it. Just enough. All right.
Yeah, just enough. Well, think about aggro matches, when you're used to watching a lot of these Ruby Sapphire decks,
Yeah.
Blue Steel decks, and then you run into one of these hyper aggro matches, these games are over quickly. So that's 2-0 there.
I will say Kayla's deck might be pretty good into the Sapphire Steel deck. A lot of the things have ward, especially if they don't have the turn 1 bell. Like, could give them problems. And like the Windy, it's got ward and it's got 3 attack, so I mean, it would at least trade with the bell after it gets 2 lore in.
Yeah, that's a great point. I do think against some of these control decks, this deck, you're right, this deck probably is very good. This is a really bad matchup for it, though.
Oh, yeah.
For 2 reasons. One, this deck does have, or the green steel decks tend to have some early game big board presence cards. Oftentimes you have ship lines where you can drop Sad Beast or other cards on turn 3, sometimes Robin Hood. You also have Smeeze, often you're running in the 2 slot, which can answer some threats with its 3 strength. You also have steel-based removal. And so if that wasn't bad enough, one of the things that this deck wants to do in phase 2, as we talked about, is build up into Goats and into Seeking Knowledge and Wisdom. And when your opponent forces you to dump those, that's your plan B.
Yeah, yeah, that's your end game to try to sneak in the last few points. And yeah, it's I personally coming into this weekend would not be expecting to face Emerald Steel, but I mean it's still a good deck. It's still doing the same thing it's been doing.
Right. There we are. There's our beautiful face. No, thanks for watching the stream. We just finished up that lightning fast round, round 2.
Yeah, that went by quick.
The decks, hyper aggro decks, they win quick or they lose quick. In this instance, we lost, quickly for that blue, that purple blue player, the Blurple player. Not a traditional Blurple build, but kudos to anyone who brings a fresh build and off meta deck to these events and tests it out and sees how it does. Clearly worked in round 1. There's 1-0 going into round 2. Now the player's 1-1. I think Kayla is her name. And we'll see how that deck does moving forward. But thank you all for watching so far. I will point out 20 Lore Pro has set it up here, so we're showing games here on the main stream. But there's actually 2 feature match tables, and in between games, or if we're done here, you can move over to another Twitch stream where I think Katie from Lorekeeper's in, and then Clara Sear on Twitch are also broadcasting the other match here. So you can bounce back and forth between the 2 and see what you want to watch each round, which is pretty cool, great feature to have available. What do you think so far, having seen 2 rounds and walked for a little bit?
I'm not surprised at the people that brought the blue steel deck, and I'm happy and excited that people are trying to think outside the box as well. That's one thing I pride myself on, is I always try to move around what the main metagame is doing and see if I can break something or have like a good matchup versus like the top couple decks. And then if I don't, then I'll just play the best deck. But I mean, at least try. And I think some things people are bringing today have a decent shot at combating the blue steel villain of the weekend.
That's a great point. When you have like a tier 0 deck or deck that people consider like the monster in a particular format, you either play it or you play against it. You have to factor it in. And so I'm sure or I know actually, having talked to a lot of these players, that's factored in a lot of choices. A lot of aggressive decks I've seen out there, and in some interesting colors. I've seen some people playing the Tramp build, the Lemon Lime Tramp deck that's designed to go wide. That Blurple deck that we saw is probably a symptom of a deck that's trying to run underneath these more control-y blue steel decks. I've also seen some Ruby Sapphire around because people love it still.
Yeah.
And that also, but also a deck you can run under, which leads people to run aggro. So I do think that in this particular tournament breakdown, I'm really excited to see what it looks like later, because you'll probably see at the top end heavy representation from the current monster deck in the format. But then the rest of the format warped to be a little bit more aggressive to try to get around this beast.
Yeah, I'm walking around. I mean, there's still the diehard Ruby Sapphire people, but it's not as prevalent as it was last season. It's kind of taken a backseat to the blue steel deck, and I do think an answer to that is you can go for a more aggressive strategy, but it's not been your traditional aggressive decks like we've seen in previous formats, like the green yellow lady and the Tramp deck it's all 1-drops that have like 4 willpower. It's not turn 1 Lilo and or Maleficent that quest for 2 that are a 1/1 that would just get eaten alive by the bell open, but things that can survive that initial like defense from blue steel is how you can get it done. And then we saw Kayla's Blurple deck. It's not things with 4 willpower, but a lot of things that have ward. So it's, Bell's going to have to trade with it or just not be able to get in at all. And the songs aren't going to be able to target it. So just think outside the box. It's still an aggressive deck. It's just different than what we've seen in the past.
This is not your Inklands hyper aggro.
Definitely not.
That was a fun round. We've seen some interesting decks so far. I'm really excited as we continue to see people, work their way to the top of the bracket here, what we're going to see in the next round. So don't go away unless you're going to watch the other feature match on one of the other Twitch streams. But come back soon and we'll show you the next game in this series, round 3. I'm excited to see where it goes.
Items in Line presents CDH players who have just under 15 minutes remaining in the round. That is 5 minutes.
Hello. Oh.
I know, it's so exciting. I feel like it's like celebrity sightings when people come into the chat. I'm like,
Wait, I know you.
I know, it's so exciting. And it's better on the internet because then I don't have to do the awkward thing where I'm like, I'm not very good at making eye contact.
Am I just using
All right.
That is the thing. You can take advantage of the internet for
That's what I typed.
to be comfortable.
What did you type?
I type this.
So good. Okay, so we did see one crab go to the bottom when there was a Augustwald trigger, but there is another crab, and we are 1 dime away from a true world of
I
pain.
want you to do it on here.
Because we are looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items on board. We don't even need the dime, honestly. We got just bodies everywhere here. It's to the point where Aaron's like, can I get a second mat, actually? I need a second mat. Maybe I'll have like one for my ink and like my items, and I'll have another mat where I put my discard and my characters.
Well, no, like, so if
Go
you,
ahead and type again. Let me just see.
Well,
but like if you have,
each
like, say I
player
have a
is
space
only
here,
allowed one
like if I
mat
type-
in this competition.
Okay,
They are
okay.
on camera.
See, you type in the
Okay. Because, yeah, he's running.
oh yeah.
There's a lot of real estate. In fact, why not? Just put a McDuck banner out there. Why not? Let's just see how many cards a person can put on one play mat.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, because I
I
type
don't know
this.
why.
But Lucas says, I'm not scared, okay? Yeah, you have 5 items,
think so.
and you have 7 characters, and you have 10 ink, and you have lots of cards in hand. But I'm still not scared.
I was just talking about.
I will see what you do next, and I imagine it's not going to be
talking about the
pretty,
game,
because I
and before
can't
that, they were
imagine
talking about, like, ink things,
Aaron
things,
just saying pass. I imagine Aaron's about to do some fun little stuff. All right, so first,
check what.
gosh, yeah, I'm questing. Why not? While I'm here. Oh, and then that Tamatoa Quest 4-6. That was really masterful play by Aaron, which you would expect nothing less from the bro of Lorcana. Lucas it was tough. Lucas had a cool, oh, there's Bucky. We know when we miss him. We see him right there. But we'll go ahead and cut back to our faces in a second here.
Can I say that I don't necessarily miss Bucky? Like, in the competitive landscape, he's probably a good buddy. I've seen him in the movies and stuff. Like, yeah, good companion, I guess, but
I'm not sure a lot of people miss Bucky. I do think people are like, after seeing Hiram, I don't think Bucky did anything wrong. Because, my goodness, there's been some mean, lean machines since Bucky has been banned where you're like, wow, did he deserve such a thing? And he wasn't banned. He was errata, but it effectively banned him. Wow.
the sweeter version of Bucky we can, like, bring and say, hey, Bucky is a good pal. The Amethyst version, yes.
Oh my goodness. Bucky deserved worse than what he's got. Jeebus. They put him in a public square and beat him and then said, look at what this rat did. And they said, it's a squirrel. And they said, I don't care. Then so I feel like, good. Okay. Well, I can't argue. That is a divisive bushy-tailed pal. That was such a fast little round. Thank you for there's a new Bucky in town. The new Bucky is the nutty rascal, and no one's afraid of that Bucky. In fact, no one's afraid of any Bucky currently. People are just happy that he's gone. But that round was so fast. Did you imagine? I'm a little sad I didn't get to see Lucas fire off the fire that was inside of his deck. And I also wonder, I wish we could do interviews because I really wish I could know, why didn't he shift that Diablo? Was it because he knew it wouldn't survive a turn? So he's like, well, maybe I'll go wide and something will pay off later, I'm assuming. But what do you think? Why do you think Lucas played so conservatively that second round or second match?
I'm not sure. I'm trying to think. Either it is I don't have the right cards, or the cards in my hand don't have any impact into the board state, or I'm lost.
It was interesting, right?
I'm trying to analyze that because we couldn't have a view of Lucas's hands, and it's hard to say. I know this deck does not run a lot of higher cost cards. Like in the higher hand, you have Kita, probably. You have Under the Sea, if it is there. You have, we don't talk about Bruno, but this is a song. If you have Ariel or any other singer that could sing it.
Whatnot is having a conflict. There's a Cinderella in the back. Okay. Want to? Okay, we are aligned. No holds barred. I mean, you can bid on parts. It's crazy to me that Kirby is saying that they don't have. No, I love that. So you guys, you're both snipers. Yeah. Well, and sniper. The problem was they don't show that in so much you will have. And that's what I was like, I can't, like, there is a time for me to communicate with you. Yeah, so it's not like we had talked at all. He's like, I'll never do one again. I'm sorry. I mean, listen. Did they have all these play tables last year? Oh, Jesus. Hey, you want your set finally? Is that 23 years old? That's fun. You know, at one point a single card was going for that. Yeah, but that's just the start of the match. Oh. Like, that's not... The gens are going to throw that price. What is it? There's the original D23 seal. Like the tube thingy? Or the box? No. This. You're sponsored by World Classic. Yeah. We spent too much money on it. Oh, yeah. Boy. Don't. Just don't. Save yourself. I've got so much money to Whatnot. I got a whole binder full. The Whatnot bar is so yeah. 40 hours. Yeah. Real rough.
obstacle. It was on like an unconditioned. Yeah, and then so I got empty-handed at like fighting, and then he had Mad Hatter, and he was using Mad Hatter to look at the top part of my deck. Oh, you know, leave it there, discard it. Yes, exactly. And so he did that, right? And as he was doing that, he just kept leaving unequal cards on top of my deck, and I ended up drawing into all 4 of my unequal 8-cost systems. It was rough. I had to use a T-Boy to put 1 into an equal. And then the other 3, I either had to discard it or was stuck with. Like I had 1 in hand, and then he left. He's like, I'm gonna leave that card on the top. So like the prototypical like nerd speech, you know? I'm gonna leave that one on the top. Steven, shut up. Spicy.
He's so spicy sometimes, and it's my favorite. It's because I didn't even say anything spicy the other day.
Come on, you're all supposed to attack me. This is mine.
Would you? Yeah.
I got this on you, babe. What not?
What not? What happens when I shoot? What not?
What not?
Do you have an enchant on Toa?
Yeah, do you have an enchant on Toa? The rest are but I have some other cards that are coming there. Show me what you got.
From the queen.
You got money? How much money? Oh, well, you saw he's probably not going to get exactly what you know. You sell it to a vendor, you sell it to a person, yeah. Yeah. If you sell it on 240, yeah, sure.
I've never seen that.
I only have 1 minute. You want for the Diablo? Okay. I did that, and then I looked at the guy in the front, and I was like, that was a much slower buy-in. I was watching one out auction. They were doing Pokemon Jump Pack. They opened up a sealed jumbo box, and it was guaranteed to have like 12 rolls for Mongols. And what they would do it, and they would bid it, and then you would pay the pack, and they would add, if it was a heavy pack, they ripped it. And if it was a light pack, they'd ship it to you, or you'd rip it as fast as right? And so because there was only a foil, they weren't guaranteed to get a foil. And the foil's way more than the heavy packs. Why was he ripping jungle or so the hits in that one were like, I did see like a Venusaur get open, Astros get open.
In a Venusaur? I mean, base set chases? Jungle like a wiggly top.
No,
The Fable.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah. There was a wiggly top. Yeah. I have to go back and think. Well, I can't go look at it. But they were hits. They were definitely hits. But the packs were going for like 4 to 5 minutes. Like you think?
Skill my team. She was there for like 18. So it didn't matter. I probably should have requested, but she still had it. It was good. No. Slightly different.
Crimson Lion Games presents Commander Showdown players. That is time in your round. Active player, finish your turn. If you have a time extension and there is not a judge on your table, please call for one now.
That's just no.
think it's based off of the game. They keep using this name, the Kiwi, and it's like bouncing up and down and like enjoying itself. Yeah, it's a meme. And so I think they built the deck and were playing it. They were using that name in the chat to like show like we're cooking here, we're enjoying it. And then so we got renamed to Kiwi. Yeah, that's what it was. It's like they hear the chat about it, it's just that same meme over and over. So it's literally named after it. It's a meme deck and named after the meme. But it's actually freaking good. Oh no, it's good, it's great. Then that cooks. You made fun of it? How's that? Yeah. Okay, Grandma.
Okay, Grandma, she was that too.
You don't do that.
We're looking for one more player to launch our next commander pod. If you want to place a commander, head over to the registration in the back of the hall and sign up. Or you can do it through your Spice Rack app. Again, we're looking for one more player to play a friendly commander pod.
You want to turn your things tomorrow? Yeah. You want to turn your faces? Well, so close. Second, Apple ticket? You get a ticket every time you spend $10 purchasing. So did they pass out Arnold's in the bathroom? No, they didn't pass out before, but you get more if you purchase. And Joey? I got 22. I've not been drunk. You know what? That's the attitude that got me. I was like, I'm gonna go one. And then I was like, great.
Yeah, because I'm doing so sick.
Oh, sick. Congratulations to him. That means he's probably in his first year. Good, good. Yeah. Certain principles I need to like file and stuff just to have like a better understanding of different aspects of the ecosystem and how different people are treated in the ecosystem. So I think it's a great approach to teaching as opposed to just being like, this is like the win. So this is actually how the justice system affects people. And things like that are actually like how we do it. Yeah. So, we didn't look at you. Are you, so you're, what, 6th grade right now? Second. That's junior high? Or is your school not junior high? So you're in the end. You're big man on campus right now. Other than card games, what are you able to crush? Oh, you can keep that brain going. There's water fountains. You go down the stairs. You go around and play. Round one, and then I got to in round two. So
I went 1 and 2 round 1, round 2. I got
same two. Round one, I was in 6 song. Round two, I had a custom Weaver build, also on two. Because I wanted to like
my second problem was playing this room. I don't use this, and I think that's all I did. It
would have been a little bit. Had I put the diamond in play instead, yeah, like that thing, because he's a computer player. He was one of the but either way, that's what in the game too. What? No, you lost the yeah.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, I haven't seen one yet. Now I'm just anxiously waiting for people to let's go. Come back. That's what he said. He lost, but it's going to be. Hey, but a win's a win. It is a win. So you need this too. It is that. Like your team.
In my defense, I didn't play that card with that. Yeah.
I'm stealing two.
I got one. I brought one of the
And it beat you. Fun game. Just in time. Not in the match.
I get it. You're right. You're right.
Especially because
It's 2 and 6, but I have the same string.
from my trash in the trash. He's 2 up. I'm trying to right back. Got 30 seconds. She can do it. I'll do what I do. She can just watch for me. Huh? Yeah, I know. It hurt. You know the best way to not worry about it is not to I do. Yeah. It's a yell out of it. You gotta go here. From the diet. Drop like a card. Yeah. Throw 'em in the air. Do like freaking oh yeah. Video. Try to beat me now, you can't do. Oh, these are pretty cool. It would be a shame if somebody.
It's pretty cool. Rules all of your cards.
Yep. Don't worry about this.
Don't worry, Daddy.
get lucky.
Well, it's because he doesn't have heart to heart. He has like he's got that. He has heart to heart.
I'm sorry, he's the only character that doesn't care about the bottom of $1 billion deck.
Yeah, he's the only non-Nepo baby deck. Kaiba? Nepo.
I mean, literally.
What is it, Doc? He's a copy. Nepo one. Whatever it takes, I guess. Probably in fact, I guarantee it.
I know that there was like games on Friday.
I didn't know anybody play. There's two people who sort of pay attention. Plus, the round you got the five, it's round one.
I did.
So you still want to have 3 points.
Two shake.
You didn't play, but you had an additional room to start getting live.
That's a good point.
I'm for it. Ooh, okay.
Yeah, if there were messages for free today.
I played it like a lot. It's kind of like the no, it's not. One had but the way that it worked was you had effectively I got it. And I realized, oh wait, I still publishing free.
It's kind of like a tower climbing one. Yeah. You go into a room, but each room is something in front of a wall. And you sort of look at where this giant dungeon and they release the space. It's pretty well within the community.
Oh, cool, yeah. Yeah, I'll take you guys. Free kind of stuff.
One of the big problems is I can't do stuff
including Brianna. It's not even here. That was one of the people that was there that Hey, Alex, great.
HBMO players on table number 77, that's Timothy Small and Dayton Riddle. Please report your match for me. Once again, Timothy Small, Dayton Riddle, table 77. Please report that match. Players, we're launching one more Commander Pod today and need just a few people to watch it. If you want to place a Commander, please go to your space right now and sign up for that last Commander Pod.
watching Mo and Zach.
No, the other looks like Katie. It's, you know what? It's not.
Player Tony Lamb, please join us in the boardroom across the hall for your Ether Drift draft. That is player Tony Lamb, please join us for your Ether Drift draft.
Crimson Lion Games presents Commander Showdown Players. Pairings for round 5 are available on Spice Rack and making their way to the pairings board. Please find your name, find your seat. Do not start playing. Hunterbird Memorial Open competitors at table 34 and 91. Please make sure that you have reported your match.
I think I'm this
That
one.
is Charles Lancaster, Tanner
I think
Miller,
we're that
Richard
one.
Green,
No, you're not.
and Mark
this one.
Vasquez. Please report your match.
1, 2, 3. Yeah, what are we watching?
Hello and welcome to 20 Lore Pro. I'm Sir Ashtown, and joining me today is Liam from the Illumineers. How are you doing, Liam?
I am doing very well. I'm very excited to be here. I love this event and am honored to be back for a second year. Thanks for having me.
I'm really excited to be here. We have had, I mean, a plethora of players join. We went from 30 players to 40, and I believe we went all the way up to 68 players. So now this is a 7-round tournament. We're going to have more rounds for y'all tomorrow, along with the top 8. So you're just getting a small taste of what we're doing here today at the Hunter Burden Memorial Lorcana Championship. We are going on into round 3, and we are currently watching that Mo Kid.
No, I do think, Wesley, that we're waiting for an update to the top because that Mo Kid is Mo Shamlin's moniker. Mo Shamlin's playing on the other feature stream right now, so you can jump on over to the other feature match in Hunter Burton and watch him. He's piloting a blue-green deck, Sapphire Emerald deck, which is a lot of fun. On this stream, I'm trying to see. I see we have some purple over there, some amethyst. So we'll see which version of that. And it looks like I think I saw some Oswald over on the left, a card that has reared its head the last few weeks. So likely to see the item blue steel control variant that popped up at the start of this meta, made famous, I think, most famous by Jeremy and Zensayed down at SSG. This deck taking that tournament there.
Now this Oswald card, like you were saying, man, incredibly strong. I mean, we saw the price, I mean, skyrocket on it,
Yes, it did.
overnight. Again, we are here at the Hunter Burden Memorial, and we are so excited to be raising awareness in the gaming community of 988. If you or a loved one are going through a mental health crisis or having suicidal ideation, head on over to 988. There's help available 24/7.
Yeah, it's a great event, great cause, and you can see it mentioned there on the Hunter Burton playmat that both players are playing on, just to remind us all what this event, what this cause is all about. With that, we do know exactly what we're seeing now on the right side of the board. The right player playing Amethyst Steel. This is a deck that's been around, for quite some time. Very popular. I think Zach Bivens is the player I know who's always trying to find the latest variant of this deck to make it work. The thing about this deck, it can be mid-rangey, but into this matchup against Blue Steel, it can actually be fairly good. It can go aggressive with cards like Smee and try to run underneath the Blue Steel deck. I will say on turn 1, getting a Bell on board is something you'd really like to do against any deck that's going to go aggressive. We didn't see that turn 1 Bell, but here we do see some board presence with the Tipo, allowing the player Logan to ink an extra card and getting towards that resource advantage that this deck likes to build. Back over to the other side, getting a glimpse of cards there. I see Friends from the other side in hand. We also have Fire the Cannons, a card from set 1 that pops up occasionally in the meta. I've seen it a few times today. We're going to hard play Friends. That's 3 ink instead of singing it. Draw 2 cards, and we'll likely see a quest here with both. It's another 3 lore, which will take Asher a couple closer to victory. Smee, of course, will take a damage. There being no captain on board, Smee takes a damage at the end of the turn if that's not present. Back over to Logan to see how to responds here. I will say not the ideal start. If this is the item variant, which I think it is, not the ideal start for this deck. You'd like to see a turn 1 Popsicle, perhaps even into a Bell, and then followed by perhaps an Oswald if we were running those, which we know Logan is. Tipo, I mean, you have a turn 2 play, not terrible. It gets you a little more ink on the board, but Oswald allows you to really get that combo you're looking for off, trying to find items off the top of your deck. It's a card I'd love to talk about if it comes into play later. All right, we do see the 6-cost Tamatoa in hand 2. There's a Flavisham eating that Popsicle that was hiding over on the side there. I must have. Sorry, I missed that Popsicle there. All right, so the Popsicle was on the board. Flavisham eating it in short order, drawing 2 cards. Propelling Logan into the mid-game here with those extra cards. Back over to Amethyst Steel.
And back over helping fix the delay. Glad to be back and talking with y'all.
Okay, Rabbit into the mid-game here. Questing game with a Smee up to 6.
Here in set 7, really fast.
Yep, Smee should have another damage counter on him there. The Rabbit is not a captain, So Smee should be taking damage at the end of every turn there, I will note. There we have the Oswald on board. Oswald's a card every time an ink is, or a card is inked. You look at the top card of your deck. If it's an item, you get to put it into play. Otherwise, you put it on the bottom of your deck. So these decks, these versions of these decks are running a lot of items. 20 at the most, usually between 18 and 20. So about a third of the cards in your deck are items, giving you plenty of synergy for the Oswald, plenty of targets to hit. One note, just a fun thing at the SSG tournament, a lot of people were watching Zan on future matches and counting the number of times Oswald missed, because Oswald's a card that Zan worked into that deck, which hadn't seen a ton of play. This is not a set 7 card, this is set 6 card. It's been around for many, many months and didn't see a lot of play. And the one thing that Zan pointed out was that even when he misses, it is giving him information. Because that card doesn't go back to the top of your deck for you to draw next turn. It goes to the bottom of your deck. So even when you're missing and sending those cards down, you know more about what's in your deck, what you're likely to draw, and you can change the odds of what card you're going to draw in your head. So even when you miss with Oswald, when he sits there and you're cycling through and not getting a lot of hits, it is doing something for you, which is something to note. But there's that Fire the Cannons, possibly in this deck for Oswald, also first turn Cinderellas and things like that, but definitely helpful against these Oswalds. Singing Friends, the Rabbit will sing Friends, draw another 2 cards, and into Diablo, into the Robin Hood, going wide here.
And with this steal here, I mean, talk about wanting to have more characters on the board so you can challenge down. You're able to have challengers that are strong, but also have the ability to quest for quite a bit. Amethyst is able to do that right here, as we see Asher able to widen his board. Maybe that Robin Hood could transform into the Champion of Sherwood, or we could see other cards really that can come up like challengers like Calhoun, that anything that Logan leaves, like even this Flavor Sham tapped, could be challenged.
That's true. The thing about Amethyst in the game right now is it has such a strong core. And by that I mean there's like 10 or 12 cards which are played in almost every Amethyst build, whether it's Blurple or Emerald Amethyst or Amethyst Steel. There's some that worked in or out, like Friends is a card which is not run in every build. It's run in quite a few of them, but this core is really, really solid. And so when you're building these Amethyst decks, usually most of the cards are picked for you because you have cards like Rabbit, Fox, even Diablo nowadays for the 1-drop. So the question is, what do you pair with it? And Steel is the card of damage-based removal. You have plenty of options, like Along Came Zeus there, being sung by the Rabbit to take down that 6-cost crab. And so it's these two colors are bringing you the perfect combination of card draw and then some instant lore with things like Goat, as well as the damage-based removal of Steel. And Steel brings the added benefit, as you pointed out, of some really strong early game cards like Smee, and then mid-game cards like Robin Hood, Champion of Sherwood, which can shift, Beast Tragic Hero, another card that can come out. So it has it all in a mid-range package. And when it can go wide like this, that's what it really wants to do against these control item decks, is go wide as soon as it can.
And it really helps when you have cards like Elsa, just like you were saying, Liam. It's able to tap down those characters that aren't tapped down yet, leaving your other ones able to challenge. So if he has a character that is troublesome on the board, you're able to use Elsa to tap it down and get rid of it. And Asher's doing a good job right now of maintaining board control, but as we've seen, these Sapphire Steel lists with their items, they can come back very quickly, especially with the more ink they have available to play.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing about these Sapphire decks, is you build up a lot of ink quickly with some of the ramp cards, and there's some very strong end game, but also there's some combinations which you can hit, cards that can give you other cards for free, which allow you to, in a single turn, do like double your ink totals worth of things, like Oswald, for example, hitting the Lucky Dime, or getting those 4 items in play and then playing a Scrooge McDuck, allowing you to find another item. It can escalate very, very quickly. And here we have a couple pieces of this endgame engine that this deck is really trying to build. You have the Tamatoa and the Flaversham on board. You also have the Lucky Dime in hand. So Tamatoa, as we've seen for the last few sets, when it gets going, starts pulling cards like Popsicle back. You get the card off the Popsicle, Flaversham eats it, you get 2 cards. And then when you can drop the Lucky Dime, you start to ramp into this really, really powerful high lore endgame engine. And that's really one of the things this deck is trying to do. Unfortunately for Logan, Asher is really the beatdown at this point, has been pushing the lore total, and so definitely have to think about responding to this board, as we do here with an Along Came Zeus.
That is a nice copy of Along Came Zeus at that.
It is. Leonardo G. Michel, I believe, with that art. Beautiful enchanted art there. Now, the question is here, what are we going to hit? There's some good options. Smee is obviously the highest lore total on the board, but Elsa well, Elsa has 1 lore. You also have the rabbit, which can be bounced and brought back again. You know, giving your opponent a card when it's removed feels bad, but also, you know, you'd rather give them that 1 card than have it bounce back and give them multiple cards. But I think the debate is here, do I go for the lore, do I go for the rabbit? And the choice is the rabbit, giving Asher 1 card there. I will note again that Smee should be accumulating damage every time it's exerted. We did see the one at the end of the last turn there. I'm not sure if we got it all, but there are no captains in play that I can see. So, oh, here's a fun card though.
Gosh, yeah, talk about a great Amethyst card in the form of this bell. We've seen it played, especially during the last season when genies were running rampant, but gosh, this bell able to move some damage over.
Yeah, we did have the damage slid over there. We had it challenged by the Smee, giving it another damage there. If we did miss any of those damage counters, that comes into play here. Again, I'd have to go back and watch, but Smee now sitting with 2 damage after challenging the Flavisham. Definitely want to get that off the board. That is part of that engine, which is going to keep that going.
I think Logan just pointed out to him too that was a fact, and I saw Logan earlier indicating some damage that, at least within the match, that may have been missed.
Yeah, I think that is the case. It did have a damage earlier. I'm not positive that's what happened here, folks, but that may have been what that point was yeah, removing that because of the earlier damage. So Smee, definitely a card you gotta keep an eye on. He does.
It's true.
He does damage himself every turn.
And that's something else about a tournament just like this. We're here to have fun. We're here to raise awareness, and so there are so many families here, kids, new players to the format.
Oh yeah.
The first time playing in their first tournament for Hunter Burden Memorial. So we have experienced players like Logan who have gone to the national continentals, and we've had others who are brand new. So that's kind of what we're seeing here on this feature match right here.
Absolutely, that's a great point. The field out there it's so fun. Brand new players, young players, experienced players. You have world qualifiers sitting across from very, very young Lorcana players. So it's just a wonderful event and a wonderful field, and I appreciate the mentality that everybody brings to it. I do have a couple more items coming out here, though. There's the Lucky Dime. Finally got slammed over there. I see a Popsicle, and I think there's another item underneath that Lucky Dime as well. So that's at least 3. That Tamatoa now representing 4 lore, able to quest for that. I don't think we have enough left to activate the dime this turn. So next turn, of course, we can double up the lore on that Tamatoa with the Lucky Dime.
Yeah, we're coming here to a really tight game. Asher being at 11, but Logan going to have the ability to catch up pretty quickly, be able to quest with the Tamatoa, and then use that Lucky Dime to gain however much he had after getting another item back.
Let's see, so that's, I think, quest there. So that's 4 lore gained up to 6. Next turn, that'll be 4 and 4, so that'll be 14. So with 2, a couple, it's still gonna be a stretch. It's still gonna be a stretch to close it out in 1 turn, but possible with enough items. Calhoun being played here, great early game card, not as impactful here. Although, if we get to a point where we're a couple lore away from winning, that's something you do have to think about, because Asher here questing up to 15, now 5 lore away from the game. That Calhoun, again, it's usually used for early game to prevent aggression, to take out cheaper characters with its resist mechanic, but it does give you 2 lore and advantage as a character. So even though it represents 1 lore on the board because of the lore it has on hand, if it slams into that Tamatoa and finishes it off, that's 2 lore. But now Genie coming down, one of the scourges of the meta last time around, draws you a card when it enters play, has 2 lore and evasive, so a card that Asher could definitely use to close out this game. But quite a bit of lore being represented now. So Logan, I think, trying to calculate if he can win the game on this next turn. It is possible if we have the right number of items.
I think that's really important to note too on that Calhoun, that sometimes Amethyst Steel lists get into these board states where they need that last bit of lore, but there is a challenging character on their opponent's side that they could possibly win with. So using an Elsa, tapping it down, and then challenging it with everything and letting that Calhoun hit last, as long as it's the last character to hit it when it's banished, you'll be able to gain that lore.
Absolutely. actually. I'm trying to. So I'm
How many
talking-
items he's got?
Well, yeah, I'm leaning
I'm
over
looking too.
as if I can angle on his hand here, because there's definitely plays here. I think that's a quill. It might even be another dime there. I wish I could see.
There's a fishbone quill.
There's the quill into the inkwell. Okay, interesting. Okay, so Pete, we'll just note, is going to come down here, prevent any actions from being played. But that is the queen. This is a card from Ursula's Return 4 sets ago. It's a legendary. When it exerts, you can look at the top 4 cards of your deck and find an item and put that card in your. So it's a way to search for items. Now it doesn't do a lot here, unfortunately. Yeah, because you have to exert it, so you can't use it right away. It's a fantastic card in this deck, particularly for the mirror. It's a card that I know several other players have started to work into their list. It's a card that not a lot of people used for a while, but we do see the players scooping here. But it's worth talking about the queen. So the queen. Sorry, I get excited when I
No,
see
this
new
is
stuff.
exciting. Yeah.
The queen's another card that's been around for a while as we get ready for the next match here. And in the initial version of this deck that was revealed a couple weeks ago in the SSG tournament that we keep talking about and people are playing, the queen was not a card that featured very heavily, or at all, actually. And in terms of value, it's been sitting down there, not worth it. I think it was $3 a few days ago, legendary from a few sets ago, but didn't see a lot of play. But what happens when you have these tier 0 or these overpowering decks in the meta is you either play it or you build your deck to play against it. And if you're playing it, you try to work in things to beat the mirror. So for example, in North American Continentals, and then actually in the European Continentals as well, we saw McDuck Manors work their way into cards like the Ruby Sapphire decks in order to really beat the mirror. And then, sets ago when Ruby Amethyst was the dominant deck, I saw people work spellbooks in because they were good against the mirror. This queen fits that mold. It's a card that is a little slow because it doesn't have an interplay ability, but if you hit it a couple times and can cheat some items into play and give you some momentum, in the mirror, it is really, really good. And so it's a card that I was at first I was like, oh, you're a couple players. I was like, oh, you're playing queen. I was surprised a little bit, and then when you think about it for a second, it makes complete sense because it's a mirror tech card. Didn't do anything in that game, but that's why I think you see it worked into these decks. Sorry, that was a mouthful, but
no,
I'm excited about it.
I think exactly what you said, the analysis you gave was exactly on point. This card really represents, especially in these types of lists, some great item ability to search for what you need, especially if you need, in that exact board state, more items on the board. But we're really excited to be here for the Hunter Bird Memorial. We're here in round 3. This is the last round in today's tournament, but we will be back tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. We will have 2 rounds of Swiss in addition to the top 8. So don't go away. We still have more action today, especially tomorrow. Again, we want to thank some of our Enchanted level sponsors. We have that beautiful playmat for y'all to see on that screen. That was made by Diamond Ink Apparel, the artwork, and printed by GFQ Underground. They did such an amazing job on this playmat, which really brings to life the Rapunzel scene of the lanterns. As we're looking here, you can see each of the Enchanted level sponsors on the playmat for you to see there. On Logan's side of the field, we see Random Encounter Games, Cloud Collectibles, and Pixel Haven. We want to thank them so much for donating to today's tournament. Without them, this event would not be possible. Here we are going off with a turn 1 from Asher in the form of Robin Hood.
Oh, there's that Oswald on the other side. The play draw in this matchup when you have these steel matchups here is really impactful because the player who goes first has the opportunity to respond with the damage-based removal that steel runs on their opponent's side. So make a huge difference here. Here we're Ink. We're looking at the top card. It is not. I think that was a Tamatoa that I saw really quickly. It's going to go to the bottom. We're going to pick that card up there, slide that underneath. There it is. So unfortunately, Oswald missing here. But yeah, no answer for the Oswald on Asher's side of the board. Instead, choosing to play the Smee, going the aggressive route again. Yeah, so we'll see. I think as we saw last game, the key for Asher over there is to establish, get decent lore early with some high lore questers, and then try to go wide at some point, because there really is no answer in this item control deck for a wide board. Alternatively, you can try to take a shift route here, shift into the Robin Hood or another high mid-game character. But the problem, those things are vulnerable to things like Along Came Zeus and that kind of stuff. So I don't know. I think the key for Asher here, get high lore questers on the board, then try to go wide, as we saw in the first game. Logan is just going to try to play his game plan. The game plan generally for these item decks is to counter aggression by having either a Bell on the board on turn 1, or a damage-based removal like Let the Storm Rage On or Strength of Raging Fire on turn 2 or 3, depending on if you have the Bell. Without the Bell, it's you're a little bit on your back foot. So here in this matchup, we didn't see the Bell on turn 1. We did see the Oswald, which is a little slower than ramping, but it does allow for big plays if you can hit items off the top of your deck. And now we have the Queen, which again, not the ideal card in this particular matchup. It does allow you to search for some items, but what it also does is establish a 3-cost Singer for some of your damage-based removal, which will be important. So that's one of the roles that the Queen is going to fill here.
This is an interesting move here from Logan. I wonder, just giving recognition for that shift Robin Hood, but chose to challenge in with his Oswald into the Robin Hood.
Actually, it's a really great point. Usually you'd like to have that stick around rather than challenging that Robin Hood, but yeah, respecting that shift line. And what's really funny, if you notice, Asher then promptly inked the Champion of Sherwood.
Oh, I missed that, did he?
Yes, after the Robin Hood was removed. So that line available, as soon as Robin Hood was removed, that card went right into the inkwell. Here, though, another new card from this set. This is a card obviously only usable in Amethyst Steel. This is a Giant Cobra. Giant Cobra, I think it's called. This card gives you 2 lore when you play it if you discard another card. So it's a card which gives you a little reach, kind of like Goat in the Amethyst colors, or in the Amethyst. Does require you to discard a card, but it gives you that little extra lore, and I think we saw the Fox go into the Inkwell there in order to activate that ability. So another couple lore there, getting us just a little closer to victory. Here, Logan, though, is going to activate, look at the top 4 cards, try to find an item. We did find one. That's Maurice's Workshop. It's a 3-cost uninkable, and when it's in play, you can pay 1 ink whenever you play another item to draw a card. So in an item-heavy deck like this, it's a way to get extra cards, especially when you're hitting cheap cards like Popsicle, etc. So that card comes into play for free thanks to the Queen. We are gonna have to respond to Asher's early aggression here, but getting this item synergy going and cheating these cards into play will definitely help you do it.
I like this big Cobra. It not only fits, I think, the Amethyst Steel color palette very well, but that 3-drop 4/4, that is a strong challenger. I mean, that's a great buy to have on a character.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a big body. It's for a cheap cost. The thing about it is they worked in what's supposed to be a drawback, this vanishing ability, because it is in theory in the gameplay lore, it's an illusion. So as soon as you target it with something, and like I'm gonna hit that Cobra with the cannons or a mosquito bite or something, it immediately goes away and is returned to your opponent's hand because it's gone.
Even been seeing some players do that, play cards like that, just because of these new illusions.
Yeah, there we go. And it's instead of challenging or doing anything else, you're just going to sing Friends from Either Side, get another couple cards there. 3 costs, so it can sing those 3-cost songs. But yeah, Vanish is supposed to be a drawback, and really though, there's I don't know. There are some cards people are running which allow you to remove the illusions a little bit cheaper. Cards like Fire the Cannons, but there's not a ton. So it's not as big of a drawback, I feel like, as you'd want it to be if you're a game designer, because most of the actions that a lot of these decks are running would just banish it anyway. There's a few weird ones that are out there, but nobody's really, I think, playing around these illusions just yet.
I like Asher's line here of choosing to sing first with the Cobra. Lets him have more cards in hand, so he has more information. Uses that Mr. Smee to trade together to get rid of the Queen. Now he's got a 4/4 still on board, able to challenge into that Flavor Sham if it quest, which it probably will, and then a goat to follow up just in case, gaining lore, another great card that can sing cards like Along Came Zeus if needed.
Yeah, great point. Always get the information first. Yeah, the queen being removed here, especially important. I think Asher wants to be using that Smee to gain lore and try to get, within striking distance of victory, because I think inevitability here is with the Sapphire Steel deck. But there's a really interesting combo set up with the queen there, where as you look at the top 4 cards of your deck, if you manage to find Popsicle or another 3-cost card that comes in for free, you can play 1 ink with Maurice's Workshop to draw a card. So it gets this synergy, this system going. And then if you have Flavisham in play, imagine a scenario where the queen finds a Popsicle, you play the Popsicle for free, you pay 1 ink, draw with Maurice's Workshop, then you quest with Flavisham, you eat the Popsicle, you draw a card. It's a vicious engine. So getting that queen off the board there, super important.
And that is a powerful engine. I haven't seen it happen too often, but you're right, Liam. That would be it'd spell disaster if you're their opponent.
Yeah, here we do have the rabbit coming in play. Again, it'll get you another card. Asher's got quite a few cards in hand already. So I think you'd like to be pushing the lore total a little bit, but for sure establishing a rabbit in the mid game in an Amethyst deck is never terrible. But it does give a little bit of breathing room to Logan over there, able to now, even though some damage on that Flavisham, able to use it again this turn if we can establish another item or eat the Workshop, I suppose. Although I think you'd rather have that in play. I think I do see a Shield of Arendelle over there, unless I'm mistaken, which is a 1-cost item we could play to get things moving. Let's see which way we go here. Shield of Arendelle, another card, kind of like Oswald, which has been around since set 5. Not played a whole ton, but it was worked in. A single copy was worked in to this item list that was made popular in SSG. The biggest reason is, I mean, as a perk, you get another 1-cost item to work with this item synergy package these engines are running. But that resist 1 actually comes in handy in a few very specific scenarios. The big one is with the 6-cost Tamatoa having 5 willpower, makes it susceptible to Along Came Zeus. And you really, you love getting to play it and getting those items back. You really love getting to quest with it, so you want it to stick around a whole turn. And up against Steel Song or the Mirror, other people running Along Came Zeus, that Shield of Arendelle allows you to protect your crab for a whole turn, making it not susceptible to that Zeus, keep it on the board, and then, your crab can quest next turn. And the icing on the cake is, even though you're only running like 1, maybe 2 copies of the Shield of Arendelle, you get to a point where you're starting to cycle it with Tamatoas. So both Tamatoas can get this card back. And so even if you only have 1, you can use the shield 2, 3, 4 times to great effect against damage-based removal. And I think the big one most of the time that people are looking out for is Along Came Zeus.
It's always nice when, as a deck builder and as a player, you can look back to cards that have been printed a while ago, haven't seen a lot of play, and see that they get revitalized by something new, a new strategy, a new way of playing them. And this is a great example. I hadn't even seen this card, so to see a 1 of like this, or even a 2 of in a list, exactly like you're saying, Liam, that makes a lot of sense, and it's great to see this card come back to play.
It is so fun, and that's one of the best parts about when new sets are released. It is really fun seeing all the new cards. Everybody's looking at the new tools they get, but then the great players all players then can look back and find those hidden gems that are then unleashed by a new card. Speaking of new cards, this is the new card that everybody loves to love or loves to hate. They certainly love opening it in their packs of Arcasia's Island. It's Tamatoa, Happy as a Clam. This card's super impactful when it comes into play. We'll talk about that in a second, but when it comes into play, you get to return 2 items from your discard to your hand, and then you get to play an item for free when it quests. But here, the exact scenario I was talking about, where Happy as a Clam comes down, it's got that 5 willpower, and then immediately Along Came Zeus is played to remove that Tamatoa. Shield of Arendelle would have prevented that from happening, but just not enough ink to make that play there.
Logan saw the cards, but not enough ink to make it into reality.
Yeah, that is the exact scenario I think envisioned by Zan when he put Shield of Arendelle in his deck. So it's interesting to see it play out there.
I almost wonder if you hold off knowing that your opponent's on steel playing along King Zeus for an extra turn to make sure that that does occur. You're able to play the Shield of Arendelle to protect the Tamatoa.
There's the Shield of Arendelle that comes down there alongside this Oswald. And another, is that another workshop up there? No. I missed what that was. It looks like a workshop, I think, which would have been triggered off the Oswald.
The artwork certainly matches up.
Yeah, it's just, you know, we see what you see. So everybody out there, so when they're cut off like that, just a little bit, it's a little bit hard, but nevertheless, it's gone now. We do have the Flavisham in play now, so a little bit of an engine here. The Oswald will be able to look at the top of your card of your deck every turn, grab you an item potentially, which can then immediately be eaten by the Flavisham. We're trying to get this engine going, but goodness gracious, here comes Elsa, the 5th Spirit. He's going to exert that Oswald, immediately challenge into it, remove that from the board. We don't want to get that going. And Asher here just scraping out 2-3 lore a turn, getting closer and closer to victory, not letting Logan establish those big threats that he wants to.
Even later on the board, if Asher doesn't have characters that he wants to challenge into, can use those bounce cards, that bounce package in Amethyst, to bounce this giant Cobra back and replay it to just discard and gain 2 lore.
So I think that's a 1-cost Fortisphere there. Draw another. We did have a couple of those in hand, so using that to draw a card. See another one here. Draw another card. Cycling through the deck here, looking for the answers. We do have a Bell. We'll discard one of those Fortispheres, banish that in order to play Bell for free. It gets a little bit of board presence out there. Also a card that can sing some of your 3-cost removal options here. Another Fortisphere coming down, drawing another card. And we did draw into Let the Storm Rage on there. That's a card that Bell could sing next turn, or even Flavisham this turn. So that's a perfect example here, though, of a card which would deal efficiently with the Cobra. But again, we do have frustratingly here for Logan, you know, those Elsas over there have quite a bit of willpower. You're going to quite a bit of damage-based removal required to get rid of them. We did draw another Tamatoa Happy as a Clam, not enough to play it here, a card that you'd love to get established next turn. And Asher with only 1 card in hand, I believe, that Tamatoa probably would stick around for a turn, but at this point, Logan's thinking about how best to remove some of these threats, I believe, because in any deck with Goat in it, or even Vanishing Cobras, getting to the 15, 16, 17 lore area is very dangerous.
That's where that Let the Storm Rage on, or cards like that, may be great targets to get rid of Cobra.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
And this is great to see here, really Asher doing his game strategy like he wants to, get a wide board state, cards that are going to require multiple targeted removal, get rid of them, like these Elsas. And here comes down a Pete on Logan's side, not wanting any actions to be played on Asher's side.
Yeah, Logan there. The Pete's going to prevent most of the damage base, or any of the damage base removal from being played. Of course, we can still drop an Elsa, exert something, challenge into it, but that damage base removal is not available. I do think that Pete here is probably, at this point, this is probably the most power, or strength rather, that Logan could have established on the board here. And there we're going to sing with Flavisham. Strength of Raging Fire, only dealing 3 damage here because of the number of characters, but of course that vanishing ability on the Cobra means that it has to be banished when it's picked for something, so even though 3 damage is dealt, it is sent to the discard pile anyway. Robin Hood, Champion of Sherwood here being played for 5, and such a good card, really impactful card here too. I mean, unfortunately it has for Logan, it has 2 lore, but then that's 6 willpower. Look at if your removal is damage based, you now have with a couple damage counters out there, that's 16 plus the rabbit, that's gosh, 19 willpower worth of damage you need to find a way to deal in order to fully clear this board. Of course, with the damage counters there, it's 16 or 17.
And these Elsa's having evasive.
Four over there, I'm sorry. So yeah, a little bit less, but still a lot of damage-based removal to deal with.
Just hard cards on Asher's side of the board to deal with. Can't challenge directly into those Elsas. Have to banish them using targeted removal.
Yeah, so Asher here, well, you've already quested, yeah. So I know it's tough. It's a tough scenario, but definitely some answers. Here comes that Tamatoa, happy as a clam, happy to, and Logan will be happy to pull back 2 items. We do have a popsicle here, and I missed what the other one was.
Tamatoa Happy Crab is such a great name because I think everyone's happy to see it except for an opponent. Happy to pull it, happy to play it.
Not happy to see your opponent with it. But again, having to spend all, or pretty much all of his resources here playing this card, if it can stick, definitely will have an impact. But Asher on his turn now with what's being represented, I'm sure we're going to see some removal. Okay, so we'll have a discussion here.
Goes the bigger Tamatoa.
So the discussion here. So if you watched, you know how I said I missed them pulling back, or him pulling back 2 items? I only saw the popsicle. That's because I believe he meant to play So Shiny, and he grabbed the 1 popsicle because of course it's 2 items versus 1 item. So Logan pointing out, hey, I exerted 8 ink. I played this card and I pulled back 1 item. I actually meant to play So Shiny instead of Happy as a Clam. It all checks out. It's a friendly event.
Right.
And so, yeah, I think Asher probably perfectly fine knowing that was Logan's intent. If we'd pulled 2 items instead of 1, it would have been different, but that's why we only saw the popsicle there. So that changes things a little bit. This is a card that gives you +1 lore for every item in play. But there's just not enough items right now to.
Not seen it yet.
Yeah, for Logan to close the game out without having to deal with the board over there. But it does represent 5 strength instead of 4 strength with the Happy as a Clam. So little better in terms of its ability to deal with threats. Let's see, 2 Strength of Raging Fires, I believe, played there. Both targeting the Robin Hood. So Robin Hood will be sent to the discard pile. Now we have 3 lore left represented on the board. Find him and flatten him. Heading to the Inkwell. Nope. Being used. Back over to Logan.
Yeah, Logan now has gotten the shift in the balance of board state here, which Asher being at 16 is what you're going to have to do. You're going to have characters down, items down, and lucky dimes.
Yeah, but this is where it could turn. And we have a lot of strength on the board now. I think enough to deal with everything with those damage counters there. As long as there's 2 on the else up top. I think I saw quite a bit there earlier. So if that's the case and we can clear the board. Now, Asher, of course, with Goat Bounce, things like that, definitely able to close this thing out. But not many cards in hand. So if Logan can, in fact, clear the board, and Asher doesn't have the Goat or can't establish something on the board for a turn or 2, like Logan could definitely turn the corner here. And as a fan of game 3s, kind of hoping that's the way it goes. But
I hope so too. I hope we get to see more Lorcana.
Absolutely, more Lorcana is better.
As much as we cheer on both of these players,
of course,
more Lorcana is great.
So here we have a singing along came Zeus. We'll deal with that Elsa there.
Yeah, leaving his Inkwell open, chooses to sing instead.
Elsa, of course, evasive. We're going to have some damage-based removal here.
Does he have a second Tamatoa? It looks like a Lucky Dime.
It's like the Lucky Dime will slam that down. That's okay. So we have 1 lore left on Asher's side of the board. Ooh, goodness gracious. This is kind of exciting. This is where could see a corner turned. Queen going into the Inkwell, it looks like. Just get a little bit of extra ink. I quickly glanced at the hand. There's definitely another Lucky Dime there. There is another Strength there that's going to hit the Elsa.
Wow.
It's not, yeah, I can't see that damage counter. It's not enough, but we're going to draw another card.
Did we draw another one?
We drew in. Did we draw into a Strength? I let the storm rage on.
Wow.
Oh my good! If we drew into it, that's incredible.
I think that's exactly what happened. I did not see it beforehand.
Yeah, I wish I could see the hands a little bit more clearly. You know, it is what it is with an overhead camera. So I'm not positive they didn't have that there, but it looked to me like he drew into it. Asher here does have the fox, clearly not the goat, or we would have seen it, but establishing 2 characters on the board now that can quest up to 18 next turn. So we're going to need more damage-based removal, but this does give Logan another turn. And the lucky dime is somewhere there, maybe?
Maybe just off camera.
Maybe.
I think so.
I mean, don't think it was, yeah, Flavisham sang last turn, so we didn't need that. Cannot see it though, but we have 2 popsicles coming down. I'm going to draw another couple cards. It's going to pump up that Tamato. We drew into another lucky dime. I think we actually had another one in hand too. So plenty of dimes to go around, counting out the ink here. Love, I mean, if you can establish 2 lucky dimes, it's 20 cents better than 10 cents.
I think you're right though, Liam, that this is kind of the turn, especially last turn, needed to turn a corner, and we're starting to see going around that curve. We're going to see if he can get back into this.
Well, it's this is an interesting spot here. So because normally in these decks, any Amethyst deck, you think 2 lore is definitely possible with the goat bounce, and so you're always factoring that in. But in this set, 2 lore is possible with the Cobra and any card to discard. So if no threats are removed on Asher's side of the board, that gets him up to 18 lore, and then you either draw a Cobra or you have a Cobra in hand, and that's game. So you don't even need, you know, even if you draw into a goat, that wouldn't do it. And so Logan is looking over there, knowing that's possible. Asher could close this out if he has the Cobra in hand or with the right draw. So you'd love to be able to remove one of those threats if possible. But I don't know that we're going to. I just see so many dimes. So many dimes.
Counting up all those items, yeah, he's trying to figure out how.
I'd love to do the math here. I can't see. That looks like game. I can't see all of the items there, unfortunately. So I couldn't get a 100% accurate count, but I saw at least 4, and that makes Tamato a quest for 5. There's 3 other lore on the board. Clearly, Logan able to pull that out there. Wow. Wow. Yeah.
That was incredible.
Yeah. I wish. Yeah. Not. Yeah. Sorry. I need to watch closer as they're playing the items there, but yeah, that was gosh, it was a lot of fun, that game. So 1-1 now, unless I'm mistaken. We're gonna go to a game 3 while they shuffle up. That was incredible. The Amethyst Steel player, like pushing it, doing exactly what he wanted to do, but then, you know, the Logan there able to turn the corner, got just enough removal to deal with those threats, those pesky evasive Elsas, at least one of them, and or both of them eventually, drawing into that card, that incredible top deck, and
yeah,
that was. What do you think of that game?
No, that match was amazing to watch. I mean, seeing all the card draw that Logan was able to do, all those items he's getting on board. We saw him turn that corner. That was fantastic, and I'm excited to see what we're going to do here in Game 3.
Yeah, no, me too. Yeah.
Well, we want to thank y'all for watching us here at Hunter Burden Memorial Lorcana Challenge. We're here live with 20 Lore Pro with the Illumineers. Excited to be here today, and we just want to tell y'all about 988. It is the U.S. National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. If you or loved one are experiencing a mental health crisis, reach out to 988. They're available 24/7, there for you to support you, professionals who want to listen and give you the support that you need, and reach out to those resources in your area that can help you. So let's head on back to match number 1. We'll see how we're doing with game 3. If we can get things to switch on over.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. I appreciate, you know, you mentioning that again. Like that's one of the things that makes this event special. I mean, competitive Lorcana events are always fun, no matter what venue you're at, whether it's your LGS or a big tournament. But when you get to play Lorcana and you get to raise awareness and raise money for a cause like this, a cause that affects everybody, it's just amazing. So I can't thank you enough for having us here and for doing this and supporting this awesome cause.
Well, we're glad to do it, and we're thankful that Hunter Burden invited us back for this tournament. because we love to play Lorcana, and we're going to be live tomorrow with more here at the Hunter Burden. We're going to be live with 20 Lore Pro and Char's Collectible Show next weekend for their 10K. It got bumped up from an 8K to a 10K next weekend in Stone Mountain, Georgia. Zan is here this weekend for Hunter Burden Memorial, and he will be in Georgia next weekend for Char's Collectible Show. And then the last weekend of the month, we're all going to Wisconsin. We're going
so
to
jealous.
world-class games for their 10K weekend, 5K Saturday, 5K Sunday. So we're going to be seeing Zan quite a bit over the course of these weekends, but we're going to be seeing 20 Lore Pro. We'll be live with all of those tournaments.
Yeah, definitely. If you're not, I'm going to plug your thing here. If you're not subscribed or following this this Twitch feed, definitely do, because these guys are all over the place, bringing you all the best Lorcana. So it's definitely one of the places I like hanging out on weekends when I'm not playing. When I am playing. Okay, we're off to a fast start here. We have Robin Hood and Smee on turn 1 and 2 over there on Asher's side. One thing I will note, there was I think we kept 6 if I was seeing things correctly. So Asher finding exactly what he wanted, so probably close to his ideal start here in this matchup. We did not see an item or a bell on turn 1 and 2. That's something that Logan definitely wants to do to prevent this aggressive line. We did not see either of those. Instead, we're going to see the Tipo here on turn 2 to add an extra ink to the inkwell. So ramping resources, but not establishing that early bell, which I think Logan would have loved to do in this particular matchup. So Asher back over him turn 3. We're going to shift that Robin Hood, Champion of Sherwood, a card that that wasn't available the other game when the Robin Hood was removed. Champion of Sherwood and the Inkwell. Here it's coming into play. Champion of Sherwood, a really fantastic card. Not only are its abilities great, but it's very high statted on the willpower line. So damage-based removal, it takes quite a bit to get rid of it, and it usually sticks around and is able to quest for a little bit. And as a perk, if it's banished into a challenge, you get to draw a card. So just a great card. I think it's still pretty expensive, actually, coming out all the way back in into the Inkland set 3. Let's see what Logan has here. Logan playing a Scrooge McDuck. Scrooge McDuck, fun card. You can play it for one of the reasons in this deck. You can play it for free if you have 4 items in play. That's oftentimes what you want to do. Clearly, no items in play, I believe, unless there's one hiding off the camera there that I missed. So not able to play it for free, but it does allow you to search the top 4 cards of your deck and find an item. So there is that, and I believe that's how we found that popsicle there. But importantly, in this particular scenario, it has 4 strength, so it's going to be able to deal with that Smee, and at least prevent some of this runaway lore gain. But I think that's really the benefit here, is getting those stats on the board.
I'm back. Just want to make sure that the overlay, everything was working smoothly here with 20 Lore Pro. We're glad that y'all are here watching at the Hunter Burden Memorial as we're here for the Lorcana Championship. Glad to be here. The other mat on Asher's side of the board, if you look, has the other enchanted sponsors for today's tournament. We have Mothership Books and Games in Austin, the Card Haven here in Dallas, Texas, and Pixelborn. Big sponsors for today's tournament. So thankful for them.
Asher now thinking what to do. We're going to ink a goat here. And play a goat. Okay, I was about to comment on this is not usually the time you like to play goats. You like to play them later. They are ink fodder in the early game. But goat for goat here, getting that established. We're just racing ahead. That goat, of course, represents an 11th lore when it's banished. So back over to Logan. And yeah, Asher just wants to close this game out as fast as possible. And Logan, without the early cards that he really wanted to prevent this runaway lore gain. The big one is the Bell. The Bell, one of the reasons that this Sapphire Steel deck became so good and kind of the bogeyman in this meta is it got some really powerful mid and end game tools, but then it also got Bell. Because the way you counter this deck, generally these control decks, is to run away from them in the early game. And giving this deck a 3/3 on turn 1 that could then sing a variety of different songs like Strength of a Raging Fire, Let the Storm Rage On, as well as challenging into things, is so good. So we're seeing the impact here of not having that that early game board presence against a deck that wants to be aggressive. But I will say, even though Asher's managed to accumulate 10 lore already, Logan, within Along Came Zeus there, being sung by this, or being sung and then challenging into it with, or challenging with the Scrooge McDuck, that high static character there, able to deal with those big threats. So now we're in a lot more comfortable place. The goat getting to sing friends from the other side, draw 2 cards. You know, we may see Logan turn a corner here, but still, I mean, 4 cards in Asher's hand, that's plenty to reestablish the board. Logan is going to have to keep playing defense to prevent Asher from scraping closer and closer to goat or cobra range.
It can be kind of scary too, because in some of these Amethyst Steel lists, we had seen them playing Doc. So when they're playing those lower cost characters like Diablo, the 1-drop Robin Hood, they're able to just play Doc, dump their hand or whatever they have, or draw 2 cards, and then they're able to play 2 more characters out. So even if he's not playing Doc, he still has low to the ground characters that don't cost a lot of ink, so he could play multiples.
We do see the Bell there challenging into the goat. That'll be another lore for Asher, and Asher did play the Cobra on his turn and discarded a Calhoun to get the extra 2 lore off the Cobra, so pushing him up to 13. So that Cobra representing a 14th if it can't, if it sticks around.
I love the memes early on Facebook and Twitter about this Bell. You're talking about Amber Steel Song. I'm talking about Sapphire Steel Song.
Yeah, it's. I could talk for a while about the analogies between Steel Song and this Sapphire Steel deck, because they're very similar in a few ways, even though they're trying to do slightly different things. And I'd love to do that. Maybe I'll wax poetical about that at the end of this match, but. Right now, Logan, you know, I think a lot more comfortable now. 13 lore is a lot over there. Here we have Happy as a Clam coming down. That 6-cost, incredibly expensive legendary right now. It is so good, allowing Logan to pull back 2 items from a discard pile. And if it sticks around, it'll enable him to cheat out a Lucky Dime or some other item for free. I always mention the Lucky Dime because anytime you can play a 7-cost item for free, it's just gross.
It's amazing.
Right. But we'll see. Oh, it's another giant cobra. We're going to discard the snake. That's another 2 lore. Oof. It is getting dangerous now. 16 lore. We're going to have to answer that cobra.
Only 1 card in hand, though. Talk about a resource drain when you have to discard to gain that 2 lore.
Yeah, so Logan now, the key is card draw. Getting that popsicle was nice. Logan is going to want to find a way to start drawing into cards because he's going to have to consistently find damage-based removal to have things, to prevent things from sticking to the board and questing next turn. So Tamatoa here questing. Playing there, I'm not sure what that is. I think I saw Maurice's Workshop in hand. I'm not positive that that's what that was, though. Let's see. We're going to play the popsicle, draw a card. We're going to pay 1. It is a workshop because we're going to pay 1. We're going to draw an extra card, so that's 2 cards. I saw the Flavisham get drawn there, so we have the 4 ink. We could play that and draw another 2 cards.
Man,
But
there's a Queen, a Fortisphere, yeah.
But the problem there is, well, no, we do have the Scrooge McDuck able to sing. So perhaps the play here, draw some more cards, try to draw into any targeted removal. Will force that vanishing card, that illusion, to be vanished. So Logan probably figuring out how can I draw, you know, the maximum of cards here. Try to draw into one of those and then allow the Scrooge to sing it rather than having to challenge into Cobra. Fortisphere will draw a card. We'll draw another card with the with a workshop. So good. We did get another popsicle, so we can draw another 2 cards.
Oh my goodness! Talk about your item count here is going through the roof.
Right. Oh, this is so fun. I mean, Maurice's Workshop, another fantastic card in this deck. You're seeing its full potential here. Flavisham going into the Inkwell.
I was already drawn so much, does not need it.
No, that Maurice's Workshop is essentially, I mean...
That's your draw engine now.
Yeah, it's doing the work of Flavisham there. Because with that ink available, if you draw into more low-cost items, you can continue this cycle. But you really, really want to prevent your opponent from going to 18 here. So we're going to see another 2 cards off the popsicle in the Workshop. I think that was the Shield of Arendelle I saw at the last second there. There it is, Shield of Arendelle. Lot of items. I cannot see how many. I should have been counting. There's at least 5, I believe. We are going to challenge in there. We did, it looks like we used popsicles, fortispheres, a collection of items here to protect Scrooge there from being banished. So items used to great effect there, stacked up, a combination of healing and then protection to keep Scrooge alive. So we did gain the 1 lore up to 17, bounce the Cobra with the Fox. Now that Cobra is back in hand. That Cobra represents 2 lore when it's played, and so that Fox needs to be removed or that is game.
Another character and a strength. Along came Zeus. Just trying to think of cards that Logan could have that could remove this Fox.
Let's see what we're going to do here. We have another war. Yeah, there's plenty we could draw into. We just need to, do the calculations here. Logan's trying to figure out how can I draw the maximum number of cards. Another workshop will help. And now that's played, so he's drawing a card off the other workshop. He did draw into a lucky dime. Would have liked to have that earlier. But we do have another item. It's not one of our cheaper items, but it is a fishbone quill, so we can draw another 2 cards off of that.
Each item at least representing another chance to get rid of this Fox.
And thinking this through here, there's just a lot of expensive stuff. The Queen's going to do you not a ton of good here. You have 2 Tamatoas, which are not going to do you much good. You've got to draw into damage-based removal. Tamatoa going into the Inkwell. Is there 3? I'm guessing we're going to see that Quill coming into play. We'll probably pay 1, draw a card. We'll take a look. I think that was a Flavisham. I got a brief glimpse of it, which is not helpful. Yep, it was a Flavisham. Gonna use the Fishbone Quill, ink a Queen. Now we're gonna play the Flavisham here. Eat the Fortisphere, draw 2 cards. We need some damage-based removal. We did draw into a Strength. I think that was a Strength. If that was, that's what we needed. And if it was, big sigh of relief there for Logan, who might be able to stretch this another turn. There it is, Strength of Raging Fire, the exact amount you need with 3 characters on the board to remove that Fox. That was it. That was the second card that he drew. Ooh, and with that Cobra in hand, we know on the other side that's exactly what he needed to close this out. And now, we have a lot of tools on the board allowing you to draw cards. Yes, Asher can go up to 19.
It is 17 Asher's side to Logan's 5. Overlay had a little bit of a mix-up there.
Okay, so definitely 17. So Logan doing the math here, he knows the Cobra is there. Cobra costs 3, so I think there's 4 ink there, so there's not enough to do much else besides play that Cobra. Maybe you can establish the Cobra and one other thing, forcing Logan to have 2 answers. That'd probably be Asher's best case scenario. Man, drawing to that strength, it was huge. The last card that he drew is exactly what he needed to remove it with the exact number of characters. So here we go. Playing the Cobra, discarding, and along came Zeus to go to 19 lore and back over to Logan. Now, there's plenty of tools on the board. We've got to answer the Cobra. And ideally, you'd love to win the game on this turn, but I don't know that there is a way. You can cheat the dime into play. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4.
Maurice's Workshop to draw.
Because you'd have to get that other Tamatoa and then be able to activate the dime, and I don't know that you have quite enough. So we are going to quest. We're going to cheat that dime into play. It's going to be played for free. I think, or no, we're playing it. What are we doing here? Are we playing the Tamatoa? Let's see what we got. It is the Tamatoa. Okay, so we're going to pull back an item, and I don't think, I gotta be better at keeping track of this. I don't think we've inked yet, and if we have not, then that's 2. They can activate the dime. So 7, 8, 9. So there's the ink. So we have enough to use the dime. I can't see the total number of items. I think that's at least. So we are gonna use the Fishbone Quill to ink another. We now have 3 ink available. I know we pulled back 4 at one point. Yeah, this math is tough in this deck. I think that might be. I think the calculator might be coming out there or something. So 2, at least 2, so it's 3, so we 7. I don't know that there's enough.
Is this going to be the one lore difference here?
Let's see. Now the Flavisham is there, so if we need to search for removal, we can eat something. We can play Popsicle. That's another card, another lure for Tamatoa. And folks, I wish I could see clearly the number of items in play. I was not keeping track. I think that's at least 3. Okay, Flavish, I'm gonna eat that Popsicle. Draw 2. If it's not a win, we need removal. Did not get it.
He's got 4 items in
Oh, we
play.
did not get it. Ah, so that was it. We were looking and we're looking for more removal. He's seeing how deep down it was. Golly. Okay, so that's what it was. It was, we didn't quite have enough to close it out. And Logan was looking for something, anything, another damage-based removal card to get rid of that Cobra, digging and just coming up short. That was, gosh, I mean, Logan, with the amount of ink and the tools that he had in play, was, 1 or 2 turns away from closing that out with the dime. So close. And in fact, I think, had Asher been behind 1 or 2 more lore, I think Logan comes away with that, honestly.
I think so too, because even having that second Cobra, because there was a point on Asher's side of the board, he had 2 big Cobras that he did choose to discard to them when they came into play. That was at 4 additional lore. Had 1 back in hand. That is, I mean, that's a lot of lore free gained that Logan really couldn't answer to. I mean, at the end there, if he would have drawn more removal, like you're saying, Liam, I mean, that could have been a totally different match.
Yeah, so close. So close. That was totally fun. Yeah, so I highlight, once again, these are both fantastic decks, both fantastic players. The Amethyst Steel deck, I think, had its ideal opening for this matchup. If I remember correctly, he mulliganed 1 card, indicating that he had exactly what he wanted to open the match. On the other side there, unfortunately for Logan, he didn't, he wants that bell. He needs that bell in the early game, because not only is it a big body for the early game, but it also can sing your 3-cost songs to remove stuff. Didn't have it that game, but still managed to almost turn the corner there. I do, you mind if I, really quickly before we go on the Cobras, a lot of times we think of these reach cards like Cobra and Goat as like end game finishers, but the Amethyst Steel player using them there to great effect throughout the game to get 2 lore every single time they came into play to enable that aggro strategy. One of the reasons that I think Friends from the Other Side has worked its way back into favor, it's always been a fairly popular card since set 1, but we did see it disappear from a few lists, particularly in Emerald Amethyst, like Mo Shamlin, for example, in North American Challenge or Championship, didn't run them. Because there was other things that he wanted to do on curve, and it just didn't fit the deck style. But with the Cobra, you're starting to see cards like that come back in because you need that card advantage as you're discarding every single time. So, yeah, I mean, just really well played by the Amethyst Steel player. Fantastic game, and that is exactly the game plan that you need against these item builds that are all the rage right now. But even so, that deck almost ran. I could talk about this all day. I'm sorry. I just love Lorcana.
No, you're making an excellent point, because in this Amethyst Steel build, we've seen it last set. It was a very challenge to the board type of deck. It had the Calhouns, you're using Mr. Smeeze to quest for 2. But in this set with the Big Cobra, we have another way to get free lore. So not only were we able to bounce Goats, gain a lore enters, gain a lore when it leaves, now we have the Big Cobra with Calhoun, more cards to give us free lore. It's just that much more viability to that type of a deck that wants to have lore that they gain without their opponent stopping them from doing their strategy. So really great to see an Amethyst Steel list here doing that. And Logan is an amazing player. He's with world-class cards. Great player. We've seen him at the Continental Championships. He's going to Worlds. He's a phenomenal player. He knows the lines. He knows the play. But Amethyst Steel, Asher did an amazing job piloting around it. He did a wonderful job playing against Logan, and this is a tournament where we're seeing high-level players to brand new players here at the Hunter Burton Memorial. And so to see someone like Asher, first time on camera, first time playing, did such a great job against Logan. I mean, congratulations to both players, but Asher did an amazing job.
What a great game. I'm gonna go back and watch that later.
Well, we want to thank y'all so much for joining us here today at the Hunter Burden Memorial Lorcana Championship. We're here with 20 Lore Pro and the Illumineers, and we're excited to be sharing with y'all all of the exciting tournament gameplay here in today's tournament. This was the final round for today's tournament. We will have some interviews for y'all tomorrow, along with more gameplay. We have 2 more rounds of Swiss. We have a top 8 to go through. Very excited for those gameplays, for those tournaments to continue. 20 Lore Pro, we will be heading towards Charles Collectible Show next weekend for their 10K tournament. It used to be an 8K, now it's a 10K. Very excited to see that. And then the last weekend of the month, we're heading to World Class Cards in Wisconsin. Very excited to be there for their 10K Lorcana weekend, a 5K on Saturday, a 5K on Sunday. It'll be a wonderful time. A lot of great Lorcana for Set 7 coming up. Really going to see how the meta develops, especially over the course of this month. Thank you all again for joining us. We're going to have Katie and Questing Queen, aka Clara. They are also doing the second feature match for the Hunter Burden Memorial. So if you see our match, you're enjoying it, it ends a little early, head on over to Katie and Clara's stream. They will have the second feature match footage for you. And again, if you've missed any of the action, all of it will be on 20 Lore Pro's YouTube for you to watch later on this week.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here. Liam, it has been a pleasure.
I always love getting to work with you all. Top notch work, and you're just wonderful people. This is definitely a fun place to hang out.
Well, we're glad to have you, and we've had a good cast of casters. I mean, we had Hal Brady on earlier. We've talked a little bit to Tannen Grace. He's at the main event for Magic here for the Hunter Burden, but he may be coming in tomorrow. So we may have a kind of a full room of casters here as we're providing some great analysis. And Liam, as always, you did some wonderful analysis for that gameplay. So thank you so much for doing that.
I appreciate that. I just try not to let my excitement get overwhelm me too much. So I don't know. Thanks.
Well, hey, thank you all so much at home. That's all that we have for you here today. Again, tune in tomorrow. We should be starting around 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at the latest. It all depends on the venue. This is a charity event. We're going to be providing education on 988, the U.S. National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. If you or a loved one are experiencing a suicidal ideation or mental health crisis, head on over to 988, where there is help available 24/7. Thank you all again for watching, and we will see y'all tomorrow morning. So we are actually back. They decided to pair for round 4 while we were casting continuation of round 3. So round 4 is going in the second feature match, which Katie and Clara are streaming currently right now. It is Zan Saeed versus Josh. Zan is currently 2-1 with a Sapphire Steel list, and Josh is currently 2-1 as well with an Amethyst Steel list. They're going right now 4-1 on the lore count, and they are really into that match. So we're gonna switch over. We'll have Katie and Clara providing their commentary for y'all for that match. So we're about to transition over to it just right now. Hold on one second.
Feels really good. And in this case, now we're at that point that I mentioned where that Oswald's like, you know what? I'm just gonna quest for 2. I fear nothing.
There's nothing on board to challenge, and like, what would you want to do? Like, we are in turn 4 or 5.
I mean, if you look at the ink on Zan's side, you think we're at turn 400. But my goodness, I think we are on turn 5 or 6 at this point. But yeah, I mean, a dime for free. I mean, we don't see any big heavy hitters out here. We did see a Tamatoa so shiny go to the bottom, but we know he has a few more crabs in there. You don't have just 1 crab. Sometimes you can have up to 8 crabs. There's just a lot of Tamatoas in this current iteration of the meta. So what is he going to draw and what is he going to play? In his hand, we see 3
Like,
cards.
even then with the exerted Oswald last turn, the punishment possible would have been like Manamim Fox.
Yeah.
But like, you spend your whole turn putting a character, then bouncing and just challenging Oswald, and then you have no follow-up.
Yeah, and we see that queen going again because it's hard to, because we know steel has removal, probably strength and storm, but there's so many problems on the other side of the board. This queen has been getting a ton of value for Zan. He's been able to hunt for item after item, like 2 fishbone quills off of her. So yeah, and now he's gonna go, oh. So he did whiff off of that queen, and 4th fishbone. Not necessarily great because we've seen 2 Tamatoa so shiny go to the bottom. You might say, well, why does that matter? Well, that Tamatoa so shiny would be 5 if he could get him on board, because he has, oh no, he'd be 6. So you get the next best thing. You get a Tamatoa happy as a clam, bring back 2 items, which means more card draw for Zan.
Hey, Katie and Clara, this is Sarashtown. We are crashing y'all's party here with the main stream. Really excited to hear what's going on in round 4 with Zan and Josh. Could you give us a quick kind of summarization of what we've been missing here in round 4 with Zan and Josh?
Well, if you can see a visual, it's a little scary. It is what some might call a lot of cards on Zan's side. Zan has been having a lot of luck with the Oswalds, with the Queen. He has put 2 Tamatoa so shiny on the bottom, which would be great with that lucky dime. But in the meantime, he has 4 fishbone quills, a lucky dime, a queen, a Tamatoa. Really every single card that makes this deck great, he has on the board currently. So Josh is just trying to do anything to stop the tsunami of blue that's headed his way.
Now these queens, actually, funny enough, Zan borrowed from me. He didn't have enough coming into Texas, but we were able to get him with some 20 lore cards, so we got him all set up with what he needed.
All right. Well, I am being told that your volume might be a little high. I don't know. How do I lower your volume specifically? Is there a way? I'm so sorry, but I don't know without lowering Clara. But that is so sad. I always tell people if they borrow my cards, they can't do any evil with them, and they can't beat me or anyone I like. So I didn't know if you give Zan that disclaimer. Wow, he's really he has 2 Oswalds on board. Inking twice means he's just looking at all his cards. He got a Sportosphere. Honestly, you have to run out of items at a certain point, right? You can't have every item. So he is going to go ahead. He got a Forter Sphere from there, which draws a card. And now he's just questing. He is a White Rose and a Diablo on their side. Like Claire mentioned, that Madam M Fox could be something. A Madam M Fox with a crab could be something more. But I mean, at this point, the momentum is really heavy on Zan's side. And we know for a fact that Josh just doesn't have board wipe. He has spot removal and challenging. And wow. So Zan was on the play. So we will see that being on the play, especially with this current iteration of Sapphire Steel, can really give you some pretty gnarly advantage. But in this case, everything. That was a very lucky rabbit. Claire, what do you think Josh is thinking now about what he wants to do being on the play on this next game?
Well, probably trying to control, trying to get opportunities to strip away some of the key engines from Zan. Or if it is not possible, and probably Zan will try to not let slip any advantage on the other side. Josh's plan will be probably just to get lore by himself. Just bounce with the goat, the White Rose, try to get the early questers, Chernobyl, the broom, to quest, get card advantage, go through the deck. So yeah, it depends of the opportunities, but getting first in the turn 3 with the 3 drops could help deal with the Oswald as soon as possible. Probably last match we had like every 3 drop being dealt with, so it was really hard to sing with to deal with the Oswald, regain board advantage. So that's my take on this.
Yeah, I mean, plan A is don't have Bell and an item on your first turn too. That would be really great because it just feels like that gets so out of hand so fast.
Yeah. When you say that Bell is an upgrade for a singer compared to Cinderella, if you remember, she is oppressive in the first turn. If we put her on the card shower there, Singer 3 turn 1 means any spot removal in steel on turn 2 is open, and any turn 1, turn 2 that can't survive a 2-3 damage, you don't necessarily want to play it. It's really hard to break that wall and impose our pressure against a Cinderella on turn 1. Belle does that, but it's worse.
Yeah, she's a big princess. Being a 3/3 is just it's a problem. Yeah. It's hard to put it, but I mean, anytime you outclass your opponent that can do the same thing as you but on a bigger body, it's rough. So here's hoping Josh. I mean, it has some nice 1-drops, some things. I mean, I would probably removal is going to be really important, so that way you don't have a runaway train with those Oswalds. So I didn't get a good look at his hand, but I mean, we know that Amethyst Steel can't really do much singing on the first turn. It doesn't have any bells. It doesn't have any Cinderellas. So the best thing we can hope for is some card draw like Diablos and Magic Birds, and then maybe some Smees to do some challenging. But even then, it doesn't feel good to be chasing Zan. So hopefully maybe... Okay, let's see. I do see a White Rose. We'll see.
And you want to deal with Oswald and Queen Diviner as soon as possible, because accruing 3 advantages is so backbreaking.
All right, so it looks like okay. So he got out a broom, so he's starting. That's the best you can hope for. He didn't have to skip turn 1, so he got something out there. Now the great ancient battle is broom versus Diablo versus Chernabog, but at this point he wants something that can do a little challenging in a pinch. Oh, and he got the bell out there. So the nightmare is happening again.
Okay, I gotta say something. Like the cost of sacrificing, not sacrificing, talking about
Vanishing. Yeah.
banishing an item to play that character for free. It's not a cost. If we in Blue Steel,
No,
in Sapphire Steel,
you're just saving it for later.
yeah, your one drop item draws you a card. You're not losing a card.
It is truly the most synergistic of synergies you could hope for. Now the broom is a 1/2, so he is probably he's gonna go ahead and play this me and say, I'm gonna draw a card because that broom is looking at some pretty scary odds. Now the Smee himself, unless Zan goes wide here, he's probably going to be able to survive this turn because no song, unless he's able to get 2 more characters out, would necessarily get rid of him on the spot. So hopefully Smee's able to stay around for a little bit this time.
Questing with the bell at this point would be, I don't know if
yeah, I mean, it's a pretty unfavorable trade for him in the sense for Josh because I mean, Smee quests for 2, Bell quests for 1, so I don't see him being super eager to do that trade. But a fox would also be a bad trade, so this is rough, right? Like this is something where I would quest because I mean, really, it's only downsides for Josh, and so instead he's gonna go and play the White Rose, which is another 3/3, and he gets 1 lore. Now the big question is, will he quest with that Smee or keep it upright?
If you quest with Smee, Smee gets a damage at end of turn.
Yeah.
Opening a path for the bell to sing Let the Storm Rage On if there's 2 characters or more into play. There's that risk, but at the same time, if you're asking yourself the question, should I quest or should I challenge or should I do nothing? If you're most of the time, you gotta quest. Especially if you're the one putting pressure, you should put pressure and let your opponent spend resources to deal with your stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and if you think about it in the way that they're so the pressure is on Josh because when we talk about like inevitability, Zan just gets more powerful as this game goes on. So, I mean, Josh really needs to take advantage of this early part of the game because there's going to be a point where Zan has just so much in his favor between Tamatoas, Hiram's, Queens, just doing all that mischief that you can't really come back for it. So he does go ahead and trade the White Rose with the Bell. And then Zan's just going to use that Bell or Queen to go looking for some items, which we have seen him find many items.
It's
but in
not
this case,
necessarily...
he finds none.
Oh, that's good for Josh. Also, I want to point out that it's a library we see in play, right? So White Rose into the library nets you a card. It's an essential card in Amethyst Steel because you're spending your resources but you want to get back those cards.
So we see Scrooge again. We've seen him a few times. He is, he didn't get to be played for free, which is my favorite way to play a card. However, you still get to look at the top 4, reveal an item card, and put it in your hand. So it is like it would be like a free queen. In this case, it is not, but he's still looking to get more stuff. I missed here. My screen froze a little bit. Was he able to get an item off of that Scrooge?
I missed that point.
Well, the good news is we still have the queen here, so whether he missed it or not, he will find something in the future. So we do see a goat, which you love a goat in the mid game. That goes ahead and gets a lure. And then the library is a great synergy, especially against a deck where you know they're coming for you with maybe a storm or a strength, because if it's in the library, at least you get to draw a card while it is in there. So it either tempos them where they feel like they have to challenge the library and do something about that, or it gives you some card draw if they target your character that's hiding out there. In this case, the queen is going to do a little bit more divining. In this case, she finds something really good. She finds a dime, which isn't so great right now, but we know that the dime becomes very cool when paired with the 6-cost Tamatoa. He's not here yet, but we're going to find him because we're going to dig for 2 more cards with the Hiram Flaversham. Now, the Tamatoa that I'm referring to is the new one, which is Happy as a Clam. And that one is very, very exciting because you get 2 items when you play them from your discard. And then the second and greatest thing is that you get to play an item for free when quest. So the big plan there is to play that lucky dime for the price of free 55.
That card skyrocketed in price.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. I think the queen was a problem at first because I think just any card where you have to wait 1 turn to survive. But this deck has so many problems now where when it's just the queen, you go, okay, well, obviously I'm going to target the queen. But now we've got, it's problem city over there with things that you're going to target. So the queen, as we've seen, stays around for a longer time than you might normally see. Now she's done now. She's retired and has been banished with Along Came Zeus. But I just feel like the queen becomes a lot more stable to stay on the board when you're presenting so many challenges to your opponent and only so much removal they can use.
That is true. When we think of it, like Oswald is a threat. It's a potential threat. The Queen Diviner is another threat. Hiram is another. The Tamatoa, this Scrooge is like a one and done, I believe.
Yeah. But he's a 4/4, so he's still a body, which is can be a problem.
Yeah, exactly. And you have the big Tamatoa at the end of the curve that is like the biggest threat. So you gotta have the juice to deal with all those threats all along.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much at this point, Sapphire Steel has become threats the entire game. Oops, all threats. Because, I mean, you start with Bell, and then it just becomes a problem. The whole game is just dealing with things like, well, I don't like that. Well, I don't like that. And statistically, you can't get rid of everything, especially against Steel, which only has that spot removal and challenging. So we do see the library get banished, and then the goat. So he will get 1 lore, but he does not get that card draw, which can't feel good. He just played his dock and has 1 card, or, well, I don't know what that says. I think that says 3, 2, 1. I can't read how many cards that is in hand. But 2. Okay.
Start their hand, they draw 2 cards.
Okay, so he didn't play anything after. Okay, so he still has those 2 cards. But we do see that very, very, very nefarious little 6-cost crab going back, getting some items from the discard, and I am sure Josh is saying, well, if that crab quests, I'm going to have a problem on my hands.
And we know there's a lot of time.
Yes, that's why he's... All right, so we got 2 Calhouns, which Calhouns are nice, especially because, I mean, Josh is hoping to do just spontaneous lore gain, trying to get as much value as possible. So, I mean, it's not ideal, but he's turning cards sideways because at this point, the only thing he can do is outrace Zan. But with a dime almost assuredly coming down this turn, I don't know if he can pull it off, but here we'll see in this moment. I think I do see, I'm like, do I see a crab in there? And now he's gonna go ahead and pay another. Truly just an endless amount of card draw. We tend to think of amethyst as like the card draw color, but Sapphire is really trying to outclass amethyst with being the color or the ink you play if you want to draw cards.
Like on their own, amethyst cards tend to draw more cards than their other colors counterpart, but Sapphire has engines to do that. Like if all put together, the card advantage accrued with Sapphire cards is phenomenal.
So for
And,
people,
yeah,
oh sorry, go ahead. So sorry. Finish your thought there.
yeah, and especially paired with steel cards makes it so that even though it's like little removal, if you get so much of them, it becomes so much harder to deal with.
Now, for people tuning in, I did want to let you know this is the last round today. So we are ending on a high or a low note, depending on how you feel about these decks. But tomorrow we are going to go ahead and kick off with day 2 of this challenge. Tomorrow is going to be 3 more rounds starting at 10 a.m. Central. And then we are going to cut to top 8. So tomorrow is going to be basically the other half of this tournament. And then we will get to the top 8. So after this, you might be like, it's over? No, we're just going to go to bed and eat food, but we will be back tomorrow. But anyway, back to this terrible conundrum that is on the board where Zan is deciding, I have to do something because Josh does have 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5 on the board. But those Calhouns could challenge into something. And we know that sometimes, right now he has no cards in hand, so he's probably not too scared, but still, he has to be careful knowing that Amethyst can have some pretty spontaneous reach to get you over that finish line.
Ooh, we have a Scrooge McDuck
for free.
You like it free, right?
I think Scrooge would. Canonically, if any character would love a card that you play for free, it would absolutely be Scrooge McDuck. He's like, I need to read that. What is that card? And yeah, it is. Yeah, you just exert your items, which really isn't a big deal at this point in the game because he's sitting pretty comfortable with a lot of ink. So that Scrooge is $3, and then he is going to go ahead and decide what item he wants to keep, if any. All right, so he says, I'll keep a Fortisphere. It's cheap, it's economical, it draws me a card. Puts the rest on the bottom and then incorporates that Fortisphere into his hand. We're going to see him play the Fortisphere to draw another card while we're here. And then we're going to see, is he going to start leaning into some of these characters? I imagine he will, knowing that you don't want to leave these characters on the board. Amethyst is posed to get as much value as possible, doing as little as possible, gaining lore by being banished or possibly even, bouncing around some goats. I did use that Hiram. Hiram's not a great challenger. He could take down that Diablo if he wanted to, but I don't think he wants to give card draw to Josh if he can avoid it. So instead he uses Hiram to draw 2 cards of his own. He's going to go ahead and ink a Tipo. And now it's decision time. The good news is we've got a 0-1, a 1-2, and a 3-3. So not a lot of super scary targets on the board here. Scrooge is happy to challenge into that Rose because he takes 3 damage, and honestly, he's not doing much after he's played. His effect is really just when it's on play, and after that, he's just a 4/4 body hanging out and doing what he can. And in this case, it's taking out the White Rose.
Left on the on Josh's side with 2 Calhoun and a Diablo.
Yeah. I don't know. In this case, those Calhouns, they're not scaring Zan too much because obviously Zan is going to do what he wants to do because he's got a lot better board presence and abilities. But those Calhouns can only really challenge once. They're not going to be able to survive any challenge except for Hiram, which wouldn't banish Hiram unless they both challenge into Hiram. So we'll see if maybe that's the move he goes or if he's going to run them into a larger body.
I believe there was a Fortisphere used on the Tamatoa.
Oh no. Then then that Tamatoa now has bodyguard, so it's like, well, good luck.
But there's no diamond to play as of right now, so I believe the choice there is either to challenge into Tamatoa or just quest. and in both ways,
He just said, "You can't." Did he try to do the Hiram plan? That I
yeah,
was like, "Yeah, you will both survive," and he said, "No, remember, bodyguard." And that's one of the worst feelings in the game of Lorcana when you decide with a plan and somebody goes bodyguard, and you go, "Oh," and then you have to restart thinking all over again.
yeah.
He says, "Fine, I'll do it."
It's that exact sound of your soul leaving the
Yeah.
body. You're like, ah.
And it's not such a bad trade in the sense he did get 4 lore out of it. He also was able to get rid of that Tamatoa, which could play a dime for free if he quested next turn. He could put that dime down for free and set up for some mischievous doings with a so shiny Tamatoa. But in this case, they're gone. Those 2 Calhouns. Yes.
Also, to clarify, only 2 lore was gained through that challenge because.
Yeah, one didn't balance or banish.
Yeah.
Oh, that feels bad. That sound, I'll make it again. Oh, because the first Calhoun was just dealing 3 damage and departing. So we are sitting at 15-3. Someone said, does he have a dime in hand? He does. He got a dime off of the Scrooge, I believe. Yeah, either way, he got it from a queen or the Scrooge, so he's had it in his hand for a while, but I mean, he's probably not wanting to play it when he could have played it for free, but that Tamatoa did not get to quest, meaning that he's going to have to come up with a different plan here. Instead, he's going to keep digging. Why not?
Well, there's a reason for that, I believe, is you want to put a lot of pressure on the board, and Dime does not allow you to have board presence. And Josh being at 15 is quite dangerous.
It is. Yeah, we know that deck, especially, we know that if he doesn't have any cards in hand as far as I can tell. Now, people have been running Giant Cobra because that gets you that reach where you can get the extra lore right at the end by discarding a card, but you can't discard a card you don't have. So it's a little less scary for Zan in this scenario. And he's still at 15, so he's not quite there.
And Lucky Rabbit is at it again, flipping a Fortisphere. Lucky Rabbit.
Yeah, and he's lucky again. This rabbit, he's sometimes the rabbit's got hot hands and sometimes the rabbit doesn't. But in this case, the rabbit have been delivering quite well. So the good news is he does get to draw a card, which could feed into the Cobra plan. But like I kind of showed on the screen, Cobra only gets you 2 lore. So that's still not enough here. And Zan is getting a pretty wide board state that we know at this point Josh just has to be faster because he can't really deal with what's going on over there with just 1 Pete by himself.
Did Josh win with in 2 turns? Having a goat on the first turn and then having Giant Cobra securing the win. Because you quest with Pete, you have goat and goat gets removed in any way. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, he has such few cards in his hand at this point. So, I mean, you have to wonder if it's like, this is not what he wants to do, but it's what he has to do now. Because the Pete left sideways could easily just be challenged into. So maybe the goal is to just preserve that for 1 more turn. But instead, he's going to go ahead and make that Fox get pumped up by 3 with the crab coming into play, making a 7-3 and going right into that Hiram, saying, can you please stop, even though there is 1 more Hiram sitting right next to him.
Yeah, and now no Pete played, so that means actions are possible.
Yeah, but oh my goodness, that is a full hand of cards over there.
Oh yeah, big 7 cards. Oh my.
Yeah, so now we got 2 rabbits. So all he has to do is ink 1 card, and suddenly he's going to be having a little field day of looking at. But first, he's going to go ahead and banish a Fortisphere with that Hiram to draw 2 more cards before he starts looking for more cards with those lucky rabbits. Now, speaking of the rabbit, is it a? I believe it's a may. It's not a must, correct? Let me pull it up here. It is. You may. So in theory, if he just drew 2 items and he's like doing the item math, he might be like, "There's no more items in this pile." So he might not necessarily do that if he decides to ink. But he has so many cards where who knows what his idea is. So he's gonna put down a Maurice's workshop. Now on Josh's side, he has 2 on board, and 2 on board with the Cobra could be very, very cool. The problem is he does have to discard a card for that Cobra to work. Otherwise, it is not going to generate that 2 lore.
So Zan is in a. It doesn't seem like it, but he is in a precarious situation. He needs to deal with the board every turn. So probably that's the reason why he needs to dig through the deck so much.
Now, what would be really cool is if he doesn't do anything. He's like, "Josh, I'm not afraid of you." And then Josh says, "Guess what I'm running? Gathering Wisdom and Knowledge, the bravest card in the entire game."
Oh no, I think Sans knows. It's so easy to gain 2 lore out of Amethyst Steel deck through now 8 cards. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's hard here because okay, he does have 1 card in hand, so I didn't see that because I was used to him putting it down, but he is holding it. So if he is holding a Cobra and he's ready to do the Cobra move here, even that would take him to 18, so he'd have to have both characters still on board. So I just don't see a situation where he's going to let this Fox not trade with Scrooge McDuck, because Scrooge McDuck at this point is just a 4/4 that can get that lore off the board. Meanwhile, we see approximately looks like 50% of Zan's deck is on the table right now.
Really? It's hard to count cards when there's so many. Is someone in the chat calculating all the cards?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Josh is being very patient watching Zan slowly look at every card that is ever. I mean, this is when I said that it feels like this deck you need 2 play mats, or maybe like a larger one, like one of the desk mats, because he's really got a lot going on that little mat. A standard size mat can't handle Sapphire Steel.
Okay, we gotta remember the P.
Oh man, so he's Strength of Raging Fire. So he's gonna a double whammy there. So at this point, he's got nothing on board. Zan has, I mean, a lot here. It's kind of hard to see. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 on board. So Josh it's not the end of the world, but it's rough. And all we need is a lucky die, which we know he's had in hand for a while now, to change those numbers too.
Does not win the game. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Zan is at 9 lore on board. Dime gets 2 more, up to 18. So yeah. Is that a dock? Yeah, it's a dock.
Yeah, I mean, this is a rough position to be in. Because, I mean, it's at the point where when I'm looking at a board like Zan's, I'm so overwhelmed by the amount of shenanigans going on over there. By shenanigans, I mean legal shenanigans, but truly the possibilities of cards over there is hard for the human brain to process. Now, he is going to do a little Cobra here to go to 18, but he has to survive a whole turn.
Okay.
It's not impossible.
In this position, Zan needs to deal at least with 1 character, probably both.
Yes.
Because there is a possibility of Coat, White Rose, the possibility of
I mean, you could. You
Honey
don't know.
Marin.
Yeah, Honey Marin. I mean, he could be running This Is My This Is My Family, which has a card draw. I don't think many people have been running that,
Yeah.
but I saw Spessy ran it, and if Spessy did it, that could be a thing. But he is playing a P, or did he play P? Oh my gosh, it's very hard to watch his board state right now. I've never
Yeah.
seen so many cards.
I believe Zan played a Pete last turn.
Okay. Because a Pete could stymie any chances of a This Is My Family or Gathering Wisdom of Knowledge, but we have not seen that yet.
But also, potentially a bounce card is an out with Doc. Allowing you to bounce back Doc, play Doc, draw 2 new cards. Those 2 new cards may be out.
What if Pete sings a song that starts banishing everything? Because that, I feel like at this point, oh my goodness, I don't think that Doc's gonna make it because I think he has a Zeus as well, possibly. Oh, no strength.
Oh.
So that makes it where he has to top something.
Gathering.
That I don't think is in his deck.
Gathering, Doc, with, Gathering is the card.
Yeah, I mean, Gathering Wisdom and Knowledge is quite truly the only card because he has no cards in hand. I don't think he's running it because I don't think a lot of people like that card. It's uninkable, and there's other cards that can generate value without such a high taking up that ink spot or uninkable spot.
At the same time, it's a 2 cost. It's not that taxing in terms of uninkable slot, but I could understand why.
Yeah, someone mentioned, would he deck himself out? I want to know how many cards are left in this deck? 4? Because I mean, I feel like we're looking at the most cards I've ever seen on a playmat before.
Yeah. That could be potentially decking himself out.
But he's at 14 lore, so I think he's feeling good. As long as Josh doesn't say hard cast Whole New World, which I don't think is going to happen. He could personally sing Whole New World, but I don't think he has the card to play it. It is kind of stunning, though, looking at... I mean, Zan is one of the neater players as far as keeping his cards tidy, but when you have approximately 25 to 30 cards on your playmat, you got a lot. It's hard to keep a clean house when most of your deck is on your playmat, which I have not seen before.
Okay. Zan's gotta be careful.
Yeah, but I mean, I think knowing that there's really nothing Josh can top deck, assuming that I mean, he just has to survive one turn. And what is this card? It is a snake, which is the worst card you could have. But man, so Zan showed that this deck is really, really insane when it gets out of control. And as you, the pain of keeping
that. Okay. Yeah, I called it. The snake on the dock, drawing those 2 cards afterwards, pitching a card with the giant cobra. There you have it.
Yeah, it's rough. I mean, I think in this case, Josh's deck it could never be on the aggressing side. Even though, I mean, he was at the point where he had more lore, Zan just had such a heavy board presence where all it took, he had so many different avenues for success where he was able to just keep it where he never really felt that full pressure. And knowing that Josh didn't have enough cards in hand to really take advantage of things like even the Cobra. Yeah, it feels pretty rough. Being at 18 lore and then not getting all the way to 20, I imagine is not a super fun feeling. Someone said, is it like solitaire? Well, it's like solitaire, but there's someone else on the other side being very stressed. When I play solitaire, no one is super stressed. In this case, the solitaire had one person fighting for their life out there. So we'll go ahead and switch to our faces here. So, I forgot I turned off Clara. Clara, come back. So that was the end of round 4. So Zan did take a loss in round 3, but as we saw here, he came back around 4 and said, by the way, I believe in this deck. It's the future. Fear it. Love it or fear it, it is here. But I'd love to thank everyone who tuned into this. If you want to, you can subscribe to both me and Questing Queen because we are going to be back tomorrow morning. So let me make sure I read the time to you guys one more time because if I try to do it from memory, who knows what I will say. So tomorrow we have 3 more rounds starting at 8. Well, it is 8 p.m. Oh, okay. I'm just going to stop talking. Restart. We're going to have 3 more rounds starting at 10 a.m. Central, which if we're doing time zone math, that is 8 Eastern time. Then 9. No, it's not. That'd be 9. Don't listen to me. Time math is actually the worst thing that I've ever done. I've taken calculus, but time math, I can't do it. So I'll just say 10 a.m. Central. You can do the math. You find your own time zone. I can't do it for you. And then we are going to have 3 more rounds of Swiss before we cut to the top.
Oh yeah, I got some people in the chat asking why I don't stream anymore. I'm trying to fix computer issues. I want to stream with my new computer to have improved streaming, and my new computer is having some blue screen of that issues. So, in the meantime, I try to cook as best as I can. So I bet it's a Mac. No, not even. It's a PC. Yeah, it's really bad. So I'm trying to fix that before I'm really comfortable to do some streaming. In the meantime, yeah, I'm trying to get myself involved as much as possible all around, and especially today and tomorrow.
Yeah,
So,
I can't wait till tomorrow because will Zan keep beating people, taking dreams? You know, I don't know. Will this deck come out and people are like, I'm sorry. We did learn from somebody in the comments that Sailor did take a Ruby Sapphire deck all the way to the win. So we do know that, you know, the hypothesis that Sapphire is a problem. You're right, unfortunately. We can't combat those accusations, unfortunately.
Well, hopefully I don't blow y'all out with how loud I am.
No, this is a nice tone. This is nice. I'm so sorry that I was like, get out of here.
No,
That felt
no.
really bad being like, go on, scram. But
I
it
don't
was
want to blow all the viewers on your side, and we put you on the main stage. Don't want to blow y'all's eardrums out, but this is Sir Ashtown. Katie, Clara, y'all did such an amazing job here with this last round here for today's tournament. And just like you said, Katie, we're gonna be here again tomorrow morning. We got more Lorcana to go, more set 7 to watch, and we are so thankful to be here with the Hunter Burn Memorial, to be here and to provide education on 988. It's the U.S. National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. It's the number 988. It's available 24/7. If you or a loved one are experiencing a mental health crisis or are struggling with a suicidal ideation, head on over to 988. There are professionals there to help you 24/7, and they want to listen. Those playmats that you see on the table, we've been selling them here live all day. They are beautiful. They're gorgeous. We love them. Those are our enchanted level sponsors on those playmats with Random Encounter Games, Cloud Collectibles, Pixel Haven, and then on the opposite side, we have Mothership Books and Games, The Card Haven, and Pixelborn. They have been such a huge support for this year's tournament. We couldn't have done it without them. Just to give y'all a little kind of synopsis of what's been going on, Katie and Clara, in person, we've been raffling off, deck boxes, troves, entire cases of Lorcana. It's been like a madhouse here, just raffling off playmats, and we did 2 free pack rush events before the event even started, and we have a starter deck tournament tomorrow. Lots of fun in person.
That is very fun. I'm a little jealous I'm not there because, man, I love hanging out with people. We are just talking about I want to see my friends, but what a cool event. I am very, 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 very happy to be involved with this, and it's very cool. I love when people talk about mental health because it matters and it affects all of us. So it's a very, very, very important cause.
It really does, and we're glad to be a part of this event, 20 Lore Pro, and to be able to come and to stream it, to host it. Katie and Clara, we have a lot of Lorcana this month. We've got Hunter Burden today. We've got TCS next weekend, and possibly y'all may be joining us. I don't know, but for World Class Cards, their 10K Lorcana weekend, 5K Saturdays, 5K Sunday. That's a lot of Lorcana.
We could always use more Lorcana. Why not? I think, I want more. But no, I'm so excited. I can't wait. I was telling Clara that it's very, very, very exciting to watch this meta. People are like, it's over. No, we get to see it blossom in front of our eyes. And I went ahead, I'm sharing on my...
Because you quit.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
When you say it's over, it's because you quit.
Yes, right. It's over because I couldn't afford Tamatoa. That's why it's over. But I am sharing on the screen the example of the Hunter Burton playmat just because it's so beautiful. Look at the little lanterns. It's making me think Rapunzel. So I'm a big fan of the playmat. I had to share it just because if people haven't seen it. 20 Lore Pro, you guys have really, your artists, they nail it. I love it.
Thank you so much. We during the interim, I think tomorrow in the in-between rounds, we're gonna have an interview with those artists. So kind of stay tuned for that. That'll be exciting.
Yeah, I can't wait. And tomorrow morning, like you said, we're gonna finish Swiss, and then it's cut to top 8, correct?
That's right. And we're excited for it, and we're looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having us. And thank you, listeners and watchers, because there's people who are like, I have 3 streams up right now, and they're my favorite people in the world. That they're like Hacker Man with like 10 TVs up, well, okay, 3, but still watching all of it at the same time. Like, those are the real heroes out there.
And we're so glad that y'all are streaming it on your channels too, because we talked about this before, but we're trying to think of ways to really support the community, to support y'all, because you and Katie, Clara, y'all have been amazing with casting with us, and so we're glad that y'all can share Feature Match 2, which normally we put on the 20 Lore Pro YouTube after the event live. You can put it on your channel live, and people can see it as it happens. So it will be up, of course, on YouTube, but much rather have y'all have it live right now.
Absolutely. Well, I had so much fun. I'm sure Clara, you did too, and I'm gonna say Clara had fun.
Yeah, I
She
had
liked
so
it.
much fun. So much. I like just being there, commenting on the matches, being able to have teaching moments with y'all. It's really amazing.
Oh, and someone in the chat said, can I buy a mat? Just to double check. I want to make sure. I don't want to skip over that. Somebody's like, I want that mat. So can you go over those details one more time?
Yeah, sure can. So this mat currently is only available in person, a serialized 1 through 20. After this weekend, we will have it up on our website for pre-order. It will ship out after April, but it won't be serialized. And I think you can even pre-order right now. If you go to 20lore.pro, you just type that into your web URL, and there's a link there to our merch on our 4th wall. And I think all of the playmats that we have available are up on that website, and the Hunter Burden one should be there for you to buy. Just know it won't ship out until after April, but it won't be serialized, but it will be this beautiful like you see on the screen.
Yeah, let me try to drop the chat a link. Let me see if I can handle that. But yeah, the playmats, look at those stitching on the edges. If you are a person that likes playmats, the 20 Lore Pro playmats, they don't mess around. They're the good ones. I feel like I'm on QVC, but I believe it. It is a very nice playmat.
No, they're the thick ones too. Like, they're not flimsy. They're a good quality, good size.
All right. So it's the 4th wall, right, that they're available on?
That's right. So if you go to 20lore.pro, and then there's the merch section, but our 4th wall is where it's at. And
Cool.
We have lots of playmats on there and merch. So you're welcome to post it and to get yours.
They said you can find the playmat, the pre-order on there. They said they didn't see pre-order on the website, so
we will make sure it goes up.
yeah, we got the guy. This is the guy to fix it if it isn't. So the
we
good
will make
news
sure
is
it goes up, because I know y'all want that. I want the mat. I don't know if we're gonna have enough left over. We ran out of print, so actually I might not even get one until later.
And then do any of the portions go to the Hunter Burton Memorial for the specific one?
Yes. The so last year we had the 2024 playmat, and 100% of that went towards 988 and the Hunter Burden Memorial. This time, we're giving a little bit back to the artists and to the playmat printers, but I want to say more than half of it is going towards 988 specifically.
I love it. That's awesome. So, well, thank you everyone again. And me and Clara, we're going to go into a dark room. I'm sure Shiraston, Wesley, you're going to go into a dark room. We're all going to go into dark rooms, think about Lorcana, and then tomorrow we'll be bright-faced and ready to see more Sapphire. Maybe not, though. We saw some other colors today.
We may see, I mean, like y'all were commenting on Zan, Lorcana Bro, who is the returning champion, is 4-0. So
He was rough. I mean, we watched him play. It was like he was over. It was what you blinked and it was like, oh, it's over. It was the Lorcana Bro takeover, and it was scary but great. So very excited to see that.
Thank y'all again so much.
Absolutely. So everyone watching, thank you so much. If you could follow both me and Clara, I would love it because you'll get a notification, and it'll be better than today where my notification said Lorcana and it wasn't that good. But tomorrow I know how to do that better, and now everything's set up. But I appreciate all of you. Claire, before we say goodbye, do you have anything else to say?
Well, just if you want to give us a follow, I'm at Questing Queen TCG all over the internet. And be sure to tune tomorrow for more matches.
Oh, and also follow 20 Lore Pro because then you'll get both the notifications. And it's kind of cool because you can switch between. You can have both up. You can really live it all, have it all. And that's the goal, is to have all Lorcana all the time. All right. Well, bye, everyone. Thank